Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 323. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, not quite alongside Johnny V, but maybe a little bit virtually alongside, as I am coming to you guys from the other side of Milwaukee, the west side, where Johnny V is at the SmashBox TV studios in the normal location. And how are we doing tonight, Johnny?
Feeling much better than I have the past few days. Starting on Friday, I wasn't feeling well, and it lasted more or less through yesterday, where finally I feel like my sinuses have cleared up. I was very congested, had a cough, all that stuff. Basically, if you go to the coronavirus thing and you check off all the checklists, I think other than the chills and loss of taste, everything else I was like, yeah. So I talked to you, I think it was yesterday, and I said, hey, why don't you just plan on not being here just to make sure we'll play it safe. And I'm going in for a test. I'm going in for a test tomorrow, one of the slower tests. And then I also have a test scheduled for Thursday. I was able to get in for a rapid test, and that should tell me within 15 minutes. So cross our fingers, everything is fine. And it is just like some cold I picked up or some severe allergies right now. I know they're pretty bad for some people, but it was a rough 2 or 3 days. Not really bad, but just like worse than I normally feel. So,
well, you don't have to ask me twice to not come visit you. So I'm glad to come in. Hopefully everything works out. I am actually in my office at my house, which I haven't fully converted to the studio that I eventually wanted to be. That'll be a great off-season project for the 7th or 8th year in a row. But I am really glad to be here. And I didn't know you could catch a hoax, but I hope everything works out for you when it's all said and done.
My boss is very much a right-leaning gentleman, and him and I will go back and forth quite a bit. And I had said it must have been Wednesday when I started initially starting to feel it, because I told him, I was like, I heard that once Biden was elected that this virus went away, and it definitely didn't. So,
well, we won't get political, but of course, last week was the election night, and then no surprise, nothing was actually decided, and really everyone's still arguing to this day. So we'll just let that keep rolling. We'll probably have a few more podcasts before that all shakes out. We'll give it yet a few more weeks, and wherever you stand on it is perfectly fine by me, but we'll get that all figured out in the next couple of weeks. But tonight is what's important, because it's here and now. We're going to have, in just literally a few moments now, we're going to have Jeremy Rusco of Dynamic Disc. He's going to come onto the show, talk to us a little bit about some of the stuff going on, including some of the news that dropped yesterday, so we can get maybe additional clarifications and some reasoning and logic. And if you don't know what that is, well, then just stay tuned, because I'm not going to tell you until he joins us in 2 minutes. And then after that, a little while, we're going to have someone who's usually somewhat of a regular anyway, but we're going to have Paul Ulibarri joining us. And Paul, very hard-earned, every single one of them was, every single stroke, every single victory throughout these last few years for Paul Ulibarri to collect his 100th victory. Ooh, I didn't double check. I bet you that includes AM Worlds. I bet you that's not 100 pro victories.
I want to recount. I definitely want to recount on his wins.
Uh-huh. There's something fishy there.
File a petition.
It just hit me, though. He did get his 100th win this weekend, and as I was saying, and I was like, yeah, but it counts literally every win, and not that AM Worlds isn't a big win, but does he have any other wins in there? I don't know. Somebody can go out and take a look.
I'm sure he has some unsanctioned wins that aren't
oh, of course. But I meant, did he have any any other junior or advanced or intermediate wins? But we won't worry about that. 100 is 100, close enough for me. And we'll be excited to have Paul Ulibarri joining us sometime after we get done grilling Rusco on all these crazy changes that he's got going on. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. Again, Rusco and Paul Ulibarri, some other things that I had on my list. One of which will tie into Rusco, so we'll talk about that in a few moments, about a big ace that was hit over the weekend. And then at some point, again, we'll catch up on a little bit of the information that jumped around the PDGA this weekend, people playing in various places, a few of the results. And wow, yeah, looks like there's a couple of big birthdays, including Dynamic Disc own Steven Story today. But I say for now, Johnny, if you're good with it, if we can dial him up, let's get Rusco, the relatively new dad, onto the program here. Maybe he's taking a nap. That's what he probably should be doing. But let's see if we can get him on the line.
Is he on Skype? Because it doesn't show that he's online right now.
That's a good question. I messaged with him just a few moments ago, and I'll ask him to log in if he's not. He gave me a Skype account, so I kind of feel like he knows he needs to be on it.
I've got two different Ruscos opened up here, so the one we chatted with a little over a year ago, and one that we haven't. So I'm going to go with the one that we chatted just a little over a year ago with.
Huh. Well, I'll see if we can get that all figured out. And it looks like I finally now have a chat board up in front of me, and now I'm logged into that as well. A little bit different setup for me here. And I'm sorry, that's where you might see a few different degrees of light blaring into my face as the night goes on as well. All right. Yeah, I'm not seeing him.
Oh, Jeremy Rusco. Okay. All right, Jeremy.
You got him?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna dial him up here.
All right. He's sending me another one.
Yep.
Do you have it?
I'm getting it right now here, so we can. There we go. He sent me it, so it's not the one that we chatted with a year ago, but that's okay. That's okay. We have him on the line. He's right now in the Disc Baron Digital Green Room. I want to take a minute right here and say welcome to the show, Mr. Jeremy Rusco. Hey, buddy.
Hey, too many Skype accounts.
Too many Skype accounts. Yes. I think I saw that series on Netflix, or was that a Hallmark holiday special? Too many Netflix accounts.
Yeah, you know you're balling when you got multiple free Skype accounts.
No, I don't know what's going on, but here we are. Thank you guys for having me. What a beautiful evening. My goodness, you guys look so good.
Well, we appreciate it. We're super. I mean, it's Tuesday night. We do what we do, and you guys are always pushing things forward with media, and the answer man. I think every other day Bobby's got something new up his sleeve. Well, I know we can't even keep up with it. I figured they would just push it back to Wednesday again at some point so that they could get all their info from us on Tuesdays, and then they'd have Wednesday fodder. But apparently they go earlier now. So. But seriously, we love it.
I know nothing.
You plead the fifth, huh? So how have you been? Before we get into the nuts and bolts of everything going on, how have you been? You had a newborn just a few months ago. How are things going?
Yeah, 11. I think it's 11 weeks into fatherhood. My goodness. The first month, I think, like probably most fathers know, is pretty tough. There's a lot going on. Not a lot of sleep, but every day seemed to get just a little bit better. And, really now he's Hampton Dean Rusco is he's sleeping pretty much all through the night most of the time. And he's amazing. It's you don't know what you know until you get into it, as you guys know, and it's pretty special. We're very blessed, very fortunate, and we are really enjoying our time, my wife and I, as parents, and I think Hampton's probably enjoying the time as well.
So when do you switch over from the cart to the baby stroller on the course? Like we're just throwing discs underneath of your kid, and while you roll them down the fairway. Is that like month 3, month 4? I'm not sure.
Well, as soon as the good weather hits again, which, hopefully there's a couple good days like in December or January or something. But yeah, it's I'm really looking forward to getting out there and playing disc golf and pushing him around the course. And then that day when he steps up to the tee pad for the first time and throws his first disc is going to be pretty cool.
Well, Paul Martin, one of our favorites out on the board, is saying that you killed it this weekend at the Freedom Fest, taking 3rd in MPO. Huh? That doesn't sound like a dad that's suffering.
I would not go as far, Paul. I appreciate that. It was really fun throwing with you. Thanks for coming to Emporia. I definitely did not kill it, but for somebody who's not been playing a whole lot, I was pretty impressed that I only had a couple grip locks. And And it was fun. You know, the Freedom Fest, Emporia is the founding city of Veterans Day. A shout out to, you know, all of the veterans. Tomorrow, I believe, right? I'm getting my days mixed up here as I'm getting Emporia, founding city of Veterans Day. And I know that a lot of the disc golf community, there's a lot of veterans in active service right now. And just thank you guys for everything you do. And yeah, it's Freedom Fest is a super cool event to help kick off our Veterans for Vets winter series tournament in a box, the way that we like to refer to it, which is a way for other tournament directors or other clubs or other individuals to help raise money for some sort of organization that can benefit veterans, can benefit anybody in the military. And I think it's a pretty cool event series for us, and we're really looking forward to that this year.
Awesome. And our very own beloved Bobby Brown, veteran himself, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
we got a couple. Brian Shintaku, Taco. Many of you guys remember him as the Latitude 64 team manager. He just came back to Emporia, called a couple months ago, said, hey, he had a different opportunity in New Mexico. Called back, said, hey, I miss Dynamic Discs. I miss Emporia, Kansas. I loved what I did, and I love the Dynamic Disc organization. I want to come back, and we were happy to bring him back. He's a veteran. Scott Reek, I think a lot of you guys know Scott Reek. Another one of the veterans. Chris Edson, our director of product development, product manager, veteran, and I know there's several others, but that's awesome. All I can remember right now on a few hours of sleep last night. My dog got me up. Starlin got me up at 4:40 to eat. So,
if it's not a little human, it's a dog. Well, of course, before we go any further, we will certainly echo everything you just said, and so thankful to everyone that is so much just flat out braver and more courageous than Johnny and I combined or would ever be. So, anyone that's performed any kind of duty, we thank each and every one of you guys for sure.
Absolutely.
So I know this is a tough one, and this isn't a gotcha question, but what has been your favorite milestone thus far in your young fatherhood career? What's been your favorite major or minor milestone? I know you love them all, and it's all new, and it's your first kid, and it's all great, but there's got to be one thing that really jumps out or stands out that is extra special so far.
Well, with COVID going on, we've been pretty restricted on a lot of the things that we're doing. So, I think maybe that first walk we did around the neighborhood, without crying was a pretty big milestone. And then, it's great. My parents live just a couple blocks down the street. It's great to drop him off for a couple hours of grandparent time. And it's super cool.
Awesome.
I can't wait again until that day where we're out there playing disc golf on the course and he just falls in love with it. And if he doesn't, that's great too. He can do whatever he wants to do, but I'm absolutely going to try to make sure he knows what disc golf is. And I think it'd be pretty hard for him to not know what disc golf is.
All right, awesome. Well, my last question then before we get to it. So you said Taco said, well, he wanted to come back. He was excited about, being back in the Dynamic Disc family. Was it that, or did he just miss the best tap water in the country? I mean, that keeps people coming back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We got number one, number two water in the world, or water in the country anyway. And I think he might have been drinking filtered rainwater in New Mexico, and I think that was
all right. So now he's thinking clearly, and he's back where he belongs. So yesterday, you guys dropped some pretty big news. And in some ways, I feel like it's huge. And in other ways, it's business as usual. And I'm certainly not trying to downplay it. But what did you guys announce just yesterday? And elaborate on the reasoning for it.
Yeah. So yesterday, we made the announcement that the Glass Blown Open is no more. And when I say no more. It's only that the name is no more, and that it is changing to the Dynamic Discs Open. And I know that broke some people's hearts. I know it feels weird, and I'm gonna just throw it back to you guys to just start drilling me on whatever you got.
Are you worried about losing any of the history? Because with a name change like this, it's, I won't say it's, I mean, it's a little more difficult for people to maybe go back and look. Is there, because you don't plan on changing the time of the event or the amount of people, do you? Or is it like?
No, you know, that's the thing. It's, think Glass Blown Open, except a different name. And so, yeah, same time of the year, actually, you know, same schedule, except more. Every year we add more to the Glass Blown Open. As you guys know, coming back time and time again, there is no shortage of disc golf stuff going on, and non-disc golf stuff going on, but it is just, in my opinion, the greatest celebration of the sport, the greatest time for so many of us to get together. And it's a special time. And yeah, that, you know, the rich history and tradition of the Glass Blown Open, we are keeping all of those traditions, all of that history. We're going to still have Glass Blown Open trophies. We're still going to have all those same events. We're still going to do all the great things. And I also think it's important for people to realize that, and of course, looking back 15 years or whatever, you don't know this, but the first Glass Blown Open was actually called the Emporia Open. And so it hasn't always been the Glass Blown Open. And yeah, just over the last several years, we started, I think some of these things started popping up when, like, we started venturing quite a bit into like trade shows and visiting big box retail stores to put our products in. And we would talk about, hey, we host the biggest disc golf event in the world, the Glass Blown Open. And they're like, what's Glass Blown Open? What's the significance of Glass Blown Open? And you know, we just told them, well, it's the history of with the trophies and the event. And you know, I guess as you start to think about it, it's like, well, yeah, like if you look, we'll say, bigger picture to the entire world, Glass Blown Open maybe seems like a glass blowing festival or something a little bit different. And I guess when the opportunity presented itself in the way that it did, we felt like all the stars aligned, coming off the momentum of this year's Disc Golf Pro Tour Dynamic Discs Open and the cancellation of the Glass Blown Open, that it was a good transition time to make the final decision to change the event. Because when people tune their TV in to CBS Sports Network, to ESPN, to Fox Sports, who's ever going to be covering these events in the future, we think seeing Dynamic Discs Open disc golf tournament helps more people tune in to disc golf instead of Glass Blown Open, where they might think, who knows what they're going to think.
And so part of this, I mean, is more than likely due to the, I'll say explosion, the explosion of disc golf. Like, getting Dynamic's name out there is clearly a part of this, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's I got shared some Facebook comments, and yes,
all positive, all positives.
Well, no, and hey, I appreciate all the passionate fans, all the passionate followers out there, and all the critics with this decision. And you know, absolutely, we want Dynamic Discs to be known and heard and talked about, and we put an incredible amount of time, effort, energy, resources, money into the Glass Blown Open, Dynamic Discs Open now, that we want to make sure that Dynamic Discs is heard time and time again. And I know some of the comments that were mentioned were, well, should have just called it Dynamic Discs Glass Blown Open. And if you go back and look at PDGA results from years past, it's pretty much always been the Dynamic Discs Glass Blown Open. So yeah, that just tells you how little you remember of. And naturally, you're not going to say Dynamic Disc Glass Blown Open. You're going to say Glass Blown Open. It was what it was GBO. So
yeah, I was going to say you're giving everyone too much credit. We're so lazy. Everyone just calls it GBO. Yeah. So at one point, I mean, it'll just become synonymous in being DDO, and and not that, again, to take anything away from the branding, but let's face it, we're all lazy, and eventually, we go to the shortest possible nickname for most things. So I'll just say, I think everything you said makes perfect sense to me, and you don't pay us to say that or to be on your side on this, but it just makes perfect sense.
Where do I pay? What do I do with the super chat?
Okay, well, patreon.com/
we already got J-Ray. We'll get him. Don't worry. We'll get Rusco.
Yeah. But seriously, you guys invest your heart and your soul in so much of the year. You have, you've brought Doug Bjerkes, who I know, basically is obviously he's the TD, but spearheads that, and that consumes so much of his year in this one event. You guys pour all of this into it, and having it be after your name, I don't know how anyone could really argue and say that, well, that doesn't make sense, or that's greedy, or that's unthinkable. I don't understand how someone could arrive at that. Now, I know we're all passionate. I forever heard about the Glass Blown Open, and I was like, yeah, some tournament in Kansas. Whoopee. And then finally I went, and Johnny went, and we're like, okay, well, this was a big deal we were missing out on for a few years. But everything evolves, and as you've said, it's the same tournament, if not bigger. Arguably the biggest family reunion / party of the year, along with some great golf, along with great payouts, all these divisions, all these extracurriculars. It makes sense to have Dynamic Disc be the official title of it. I get it, and I think your comment about confusion is also spot on. So as much as that's true, and somebody could be confused, the trophies obviously are glass blown. Is there other things that are synonymous in terms of? Did I read somewhere that Emporia or Kansas is actually known for glass blowing as well, or is that just something I read?
Yeah, no. So the original Glass Blown Open trophies, not this specific one, but this is actually the Glass Blown Open is very important to me. It was my first disc golf tournament. Eric McCabe talked me into playing 2 nights before the event, and I won my first tournament in intermediate. Came down to the last hole, and it was pretty special. I got hooked. I got to know Eric McCabe quite a bit more from there on out, and the Glass Blown Open, that was the 3rd Glass Blown Open. Okay. And yeah, it was a pretty special time. So the original trophies were blown by a world-renowned glass blower, Hal Berger, and he passed away. And at Emporia State University and at the high school as well, there is glass blowing, and Emporia is a pretty rich glass blowing community to a certain extent. But I know there's plenty of other communities out there that are, we'll say, much larger, that do much more glass blown type of stuff. And so that's kind of the connection with Glass Blown Open and Emporia to a certain extent. But I don't know if I answered that or not, Terry. But.
Yeah, you did. Somebody's like, oh, well, it's either world renowned, or it's a famous hotspot, or it's really known for that. And if that was true, I didn't know that. But as you're saying, obviously there is some history there. I think of so many others. I can't name another town where I'd be like, oh yeah, they're known for glass blowing. So to have somebody say that Emporia or that area, has a leg up on other parts of the country, like I'd have no reason not to believe that. But I didn't know, where all of the history came from. Now just think, rewinding for a moment, you take 7th or 9th place. You have a terrible time at your first ever GBO somehow. Like there may be no dynamic disc. There may be no. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? I mean that event may have altered history to some degree. Right? I mean, you have a bad day on the course and you're like, after this game, I'm done. I'm not playing another tournament. I don't care about this Eric McCabe feller. Like none of this happens. I feel like this is a Back to the Future moment. Like you're looking at the photo and, things could be erasing. Yeah, your mom could be fading away or something.
You guys are funny.
Maybe not.
Well, no, I mean, you bring up kind of a good point, but I think it's what like the disc golf community, the disc golf family. It's something special. And when you get into the disc golf community and you interact with people, and you see those, you look up to the professional players that were playing at the time. And I remember watching Eric McCabe. Daniel Stacy, you guys probably remember him. Chris Smitty Smith, and some others. I remember when Barry Schultz came to town a couple of years later, and Avery Jenkins and Nate Doss, and it's amazing to think back to those early years when we only had 100 players, and the event has sure grown from that. But it's the disc golf community is special, and I think that's whether you win or lose, if you make some of those connections with people, if you have a good time, if you have a great experience, you're gonna stay involved with disc golf and with the disc golf tournament scene. And here we are today. We all love it for the reasons that we do, and it's because the disc golf community is truly a very special community.
So I want to kind of ask, this year the DDO was on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Now you're changing the name from the Glass Blown Open to the DDO. Does that mean you're going to be moving over to the Pro Tour, or are you guys sticking with the National Tour for the foreseeable future?
So yeah, we were actually hoping to keep. That's probably too long of a story.
It's Smashbox. You know better. I mean, come on.
There's no story that's too long for us.
Well, so the Glass Blown Open has been a PDJ National Tour for several years now. I don't know exactly how many for sure, but it's been a while, and it's been pretty special. And then this year was our first time to host the Disc Golf Pro Tour event, and we loved working with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, much like we love working with the PDGA. Two great organizations trying to grow events, do great things, push the sport forward, push the professional side of the sport forward. As of right now, the Dynamic Disc Open is a PDGA National Tour event. We're always working on something, and we value and respect the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Jeff Spring, Todd Rainwater, and their crew over there. And I guess you never know what tomorrow's going to bring, but regardless, it's going to be a special event. And as of right now, PDGA National Tour event, we'll see where things go. We love the direction that the Disc Golf Pro Tour took this year and some of the initiatives, and we were very honored to be the first restart of the Disc Golf Pro Tour professional tour, and also to bring the Dynamic Disc Open to CBS Sports Network was, I think, a step in the right direction for national media to really see disc golf and the positives of disc golf. And with the upcoming ESPN2 Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship being on ESPN2 coming up in a couple weeks now.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, I think we're headed in the right direction. We just had a call with CBS Sports Network. I believe that was last week, and they loved what we brought to the table to them. We loved they loved the professionalism. I'd say Jomez knocked it out of the park and what they put together for that. And we actually think that there's maybe a more streamlined, easier way to bring disc golf to the live coverage, the standard live coverage that we're all used to, the standard next day coverage that we're all used to and familiar with, as well as doing a national televised coverage of the event several weeks or whatever later that would be maybe a more condensed version that wouldn't necessarily be 4 shows, but maybe 1 or 2 shows. And I think that we're tracking in a good direction there, and I think that there's going to become more and more disc golf events on national television. I think that's pretty cool.
So to be clear, you guys have had the conversation, because one of the big kickbacks that we obviously got was the whole next day coverage being postponed and this and that, and then everything having to be taken down. You guys have had the discussions with CBS about doing something in the future and still incorporating that stuff. Is right? That's right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It wasn't ideal. We didn't want that to be the case, to respect CBS and their, their wishes, their rights, their need to have it be what it, needed to be. That's how it worked out. And well, I think we all learned a lot of lessons in what we did, and of course, anytime you do something for the first time, you're gonna have some misses, you're gonna have some wins, you're gonna learn a lot, and we learned a lot, and I think CBS Sports learned a lot too, and I think that carried over into what ESPN too was probably looking at for what they thought they needed, and I think it's a win for disc golf, and I think it's a win for disc golf media, and and I think all of us are excited to see where things go.
All right, here's where the questions get hard. Did they give you any hard numbers as far as what they saw on their channel? And if so, can you share somewhat with us? Can you share them with us? Were they better? I mean, I don't think anyone's going to say if they were worse, but what can you share? Spill the beans.
So up front, well, actually, how much money you got? Johnny,
how much
we can offer a refund. We can offer a refund on what you already owe us. Well, this is a rebate situation, actually. That's what we're working off. This is SmashBoxx, SmashBoxx mandated rebate of sorts.
I like it. Yep, that's brilliant. It's pure. So they were, I guess you could say, kind enough from the get-go to say that we're not going to share ratings. And that's that.
Okay.
All right. So CBS. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, and so what our contact Billy, what he said is, we're not going to measure the success of the show based on view count. We're going to base the success of the show, and more importantly, disc golf, based on how the shows come together, how they look, how professional disc golf can be, and we're going to base our future decisions on that, whether we have great viewership or whether we have the worst view counts we've ever seen. And I think we had primetime spots on there. The rerun times were really good. I saw stuff the next day in the morning, like 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time, which for a rerun is, I think, a pretty good time slot. And so here was the interesting thing. They did say that the skins match was definitely the more popular, and our conclusion on that was obviously that the skins match results were not known, and so anyway, they're very interested in more skins match stuff, and they're very interested in just continuing to have disc golf be on there. I think much like ESPN too, and yeah, that's that.
Okay, so then
I think there were millions and millions of people that watched it.
Yes, I'm sure the views are still coming in right now, and we want all the legal views and the illegal views to all be counted. We want to make sure that they're all there. Okay, so anyway, what I will ask though is, I feel like you've led this horse to water. Do you anticipate some form of broadcast integration for the 2021 DDO? I've already shortened it, the DDO, the Dynamic Disc Open. Do you suspect or anticipate, or are you already hinting and leading us to some form of additional broadcasting that we'll see with the 2021 version?
So our call with CBS Sports Network last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever that was to talk about the 2021 disc golf season and what events we potentially see that could be to be a part of that. And I absolutely think that there's going to be more coverage, and That's all I got for now. But you know, there's you guys know, you're in the media world. You know more than I know about what the behind the scenes stuff is going on as we firm up contracts. You guys firm up your contracts, and Joe Mez firms up contracts and commitments, and the other media teams that are out there that are all busting their butt, working so hard to make this stuff happen. I think we've got, we'll say, a couple more dominoes to fall in terms of commitments with Disc Golf Pro Tour with PDGA, and I think that'll ultimately bring us to the decision of where things are going to be covered for 2021 and where events get put. I think ESPN2 brings a lot of stuff to the table. You know, that's obviously where a lot of people go, or the majority of people probably go to see sports. I also think there's a different crowd to a certain extent that goes to CBS Sports Network. Also think there's, if there can be something that comes together with Fox Sports, I think that'd be a huge win too. And I think we're all going to just keep pushing. I think that's a good thing.
All right, I have one last question about this. The way that it was approached with CBS was we paid for airtime. Has that been readdressed now that they have a product? I mean, obviously with the first time, I can understand how everything was in flux, but now that they know what they're dealing with, has that shifted as far as, hey, here's money and show our product, please, as opposed to maybe them going, maybe we can front some of that bill?
So you absolutely great question, and God, we think a lot alike.
That's from a lot of drinks.
Yeah, nobody's saying that's good.
It's from a lot of drinks we've shared at GBO, my friend.
Unfortunately, CBS Sports thinks a little bit differently than we do, and I respect that. And with that being said, there was zero hesitation with Billy when he said, "Hey, you guys got an amazing deal. You guys never would have got the deal you guys got if it wasn't for the COVID situation and the lack of sports." And we're committed to giving you the same deal for 2021 as we gave you for 2020. And we think that's an excellent value for you. We do continue to get commercials. We do get to see disc golf on national television, which reaches new people that have no interest in finding disc golf on the internet. For that, I think it's a big win to keep putting disc golf out there. And at the end of the day, the commitment on our end to help make that a reality and help make that happen, the rate that we got from them, I think is just it's a very fair rate that we can all make work. And our commitment to growing disc golf is to support that, and we're going to support that. And we also, we had others help support that venture as well with the PDGA backing it, other disc golf manufacturers backing the whole production and the support for it. And so I'm confident that there will be more disc golf coverage, and maybe someday we get there. And we did ask that question, hey, what does it take to be on CBS, not CBS Sports Network? And maybe we'll get there someday. We are hosting the 2022 Professional World Championships in Emporia. And don't know if we'll get there, but you better believe it, we're going to try hard.
Wow, awesome. So,
all right, and Terry, you were right. No matter what, it's some dollars, but you sell those commercial spots, and you get that support from others out there, and it would be something special if we could pull it off. And you never know. We're always working on something. All of us are always working on something.
Well, what my question was really going to be that I got into the game in the early 90s, and it had just there was a 2 or 3 minute clip on MTV Sports that had people like the Lissamans and Scott Stokely on it, and Rico, and of course all we've ever said is just wait till we get on TV, wait till we get on ESPN, wait till we get break into these big markets. And then to have something like the CBS Sports come along as one of our biggest breakthroughs, when that aired, what were your emotions in terms of where the sport is, in terms of where dynamic is? What were some of the emotions as you're sitting around with loved ones? And I know COVID was a little different, but you're sitting around with loved ones and you're seeing the fruits of your labor, of your company, of this event, and the Pro Tour, and of course then everyone else. But what were some of the emotions that you were having as this was being put out in front of, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people?
Gosh, I don't know if I can remember back that far. No, not really. But no, I mean, it was, I tell you what, it was pretty dang amazing to hit the TV remote on normal. You know, I have YouTube TV, and to be able to see, you know, Dynamic Disc Golf Pro Tour, Dynamic Disc Open, however it was, and to see that, and then to hear, I mean, it was just so professionally put together, and then to see people tagging, you know, me and us and disc golf, just sharing. I think it was, again, I think the entire disc golf community was proud of what, you know, the disc golf community put together, and it, you know, it takes all of us to make it happen. And it was a really cool 4 days to see the, you know, the hard work come together for, you know, I'd say for all of us, because this has just been right. We've just been working our way up. We've been trying to make sure that disc golf could get the attention that it needed to keep getting more attention, and it absolutely is. And I'm excited for that as just the bottom, or maybe the, you know, there have been a couple other broadcasts to a certain degree that if we look back, we kind of, to a certain extent, we maybe don't think, whatever. But this was absolutely the big deal that caught attention, that I think that caught the attention of ESPN too. And I'm excited for what Disc Golf Pro Tour, Jeff Spring, is bringing to the table there. And I think that, you know, we're also very fortunate to have just such a talented post-produced media team with Jomez. Those guys are doing an incredible job with the post-produced stuff, and we are very fortunate to have you guys do what you do on the live front. We've seen people come and go and fail and not be able to do it week in and week out, or every other week, I think is kind of how a lot of it works. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into this, and we're appreciative of what you guys do and everybody that comes to the table to help promote disc golf on the media front.
As much as I'd love to sit and pat us all on the back, we're here to talk about you. Let's talk about you guys are expanding in Emporia. You guys have you bought a new warehouse, is that right? You're bigger, better, better. Right?
Where did you?
That's where they just have to. That's where they're storing all their piles of cash, Johnny.
Oh.
They made it to CBS Sports. They just need a whole. It's like their own bank. That's what they're doing. It's
I know
Rusco
Bobby
banking.
moved out of. I know Bobby moved out of Robert's basement. I didn't realize he was just going to move into a warehouse.
Yeah, I mean, 200,000 square feet is what he needed.
So what's going on? What's going on in Emporia? Are you guys the biggest thing in Emporia now?
I want to say we're the biggest thing in Emporia. I mean, I got to clean my desk up, but we do make the front page of the paper occasionally.
Ah, nice.
It doesn't hurt that you know the editor.
You know, he's a pretty amazing individual. And actually, he needed his family needed a Dymax disc today, so we were happy to. For a birthday celebration. But yeah, this is an exciting time for disc golf. As you guys know, it is so amazing to see the number of people that are picking up discs for the first time, going out there playing disc golf, sharing disc golf, and really falling in love with disc golf. And it seems like everybody is seeing a lot of success with disc golf, whether you're a disc golf manufacturer, whether you're a disc golf store, whether you're a disc golf anything. Exciting things are happening, and we were very fortunate. We've been working on either one, expanding the current warehouse that you guys know right now, or two, doing a brand new warehouse build in the city of Emporia with some city support. And I was very hopeful that we were going to be able to make that happen. And COVID hit, and everything kind of just paused for a second, and then this opportunity for us opened up where a massive company, Detroit Remanufacturing, which is owned by Daimler Chrysler. I say Chrysler, you probably know Chrysler vehicles. Detroit Remanufacturing is one of their remanufacturing plants where essentially they recondition, remake engines, transmissions. And anyway, their corporate headquarters out of Germany made the unfortunate decision for us in Emporia to shut down that operation here in Emporia and disperse their equipment and disperse that those operations to different plants across the United States. And even though our operation here was a profitable operation, things change and they made that decision. And so what that allowed for us was an 81,000 square foot warehouse to be vacant or coming vacant in Emporia. That I guess you could say the right opportunity presented itself, where we put an offer in and we did the negotiation game for a little bit and we came to an agreement that we were going to buy it. And the good thing about that is we were able to get into it at the start of next year. We absolutely need the space. We've hired, 15 or 20 people through this pandemic now, and we are just there's no space in the warehouse. There's so much stuff going out the door every day. There's so much stuff coming in the door. The last I had heard in November, we have 17 containers coming of new, to get stocked up on bags, baskets. Actually, we don't even have discs coming on containers anymore because we're air freighting all those discs from Sweden. And there's only like 19 working days, I think, in November with all the holiday stuff. So things are very, very busy, and we need the space. We don't have loading docks in our current warehouse, so I know the guys are going to be doing cartwheels for the first for the first stuff there. But yeah, it's a very, very exciting time for us. I think it's a very exciting time for disc golf, and we're very blessed and very fortunate to have this new opportunity. And it's going to be fun too. I think you're going to see some fun stuff early on. I remember back to when we moved into our current warehouse of just half the warehouse back in the end of 2013, and it was 10,000 square feet, and we were like, oh my gosh. This is so much space. And if I think I see the screen share button, but it's crazy to look back at that time. We used to have putting competitions in there. We used to do skateboarding in there. We used to mess around, and there's no space. And we're renting space across the street. We got 14 shipping containers that we pack stuff into. We need the space. We're looking forward to the space, and we're looking forward to, for a couple weeks anyway, probably doing a little pickleball in there, probably doing a little disc golf putting, doing a little disc golf course in there and messing around. But it's a lot of good stuff going on, and we're excited about the future for sure.
Sounds like we need to live stream that, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like, we'll get it added to UDisc. We get the course set up. We get everything, all put in there, and then everybody can.
Hey, be careful. If you put a course in there, Avery Jenkins will show up. He just like a genie. He just pops up.
Hey! There's a course here. What's up? No, you say loading dock, and all I immediately think is Bobby with the cameras and the security. I think loading dock accidents, and not mean ones or bad ones. I just mean like, the guy flipping over a whole container of baskets or of discs, and disco flying everywhere, like that kind. It's mean, but that kind of excites me. I'm looking forward to some of that footage, because loading docks are famous for that stuff, right?
I can't wait to see it. You're right. Right. It's I fully expect that come the end of April for the Dynamic Discs Open, when you guys come to town, it's going to be very cool to have everybody around and having some additional space. We actually, the office build out that we're doing, we are overbuilding for the future because we know that we're going to continue to hire more office staff to help us keep up with the growth. So I can see it right now, because some of the offices will not be filled. I can see the Terry Miller office. I can see the Johnny V office. You guys can. You're not going to get added to payroll, but
Okay. Well, our Patreon will take care of that. You've got that. You'll already have that taken care of. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, Rusco. I mean, I think, not to oversimplify it, but yes, you guys are changing the name. We love all the reasons, and the event is going to be just as big, if not bigger. Tons of fun, lots of things still going on. Probably some new stuff added, and there will be no better reunion if everybody knocks on wood that the 2021 Dynamic Disc Open is going to blow the roof off of all of Emporia. Hopefully not of your new warehouse. I mean, that we might keep intact, but bonfires and contests and a billion flex starts and everything else. I can't say just how much I think the entire disc golf world is looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We can't wait to have you guys in town, and you better start getting a couple hours of sleep. You better start building up that sleep now. And Terry, you shouldn't be drinking those energy drinks at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock at night.
The night is young. The night is young for me. I got a lot of work to do after the show yet. I'm good. We'll make it work.
You're crazy.
All right,
you guys
buddy.
Are doing good?
Well,
we're doing. Yeah, we're starting now to make plans for next year. Like, it's the season's over. Each of us are kind of doing our own. Terry and I are doing our own thing. I'm working on updates to the Fantasy Disc Golf website, and Terry and I are working with the Pro Tour now to start solidifying stuff for next year already. I mean, it doesn't stop. Like, it just and I'm sure you can. This is supposed to be catch up time, and it's just planning time. That's all it is. It's no less work. It's just different work.
Yep. Terry?
Yeah, things just getting crazy. And many people know that obviously I'm doing what I can with the Pro Tour and our live broadcasts and the Disc Golf Network. And then any weekend I'm not live, I'm probably somewhere filming for post-production, which I also very thoroughly enjoy. And I've got a sold out. I'm down to just running 1 or 2 events a year instead of the 10 or 12 I used to run. And my cold turkey right after Thanksgiving is sold out. People are dying to play, even though I doubled the capacity. And so it's still 144, which I know is still kind of small. But for the end of November, excited to host the event as always. And just keeping busy. And then when somebody has an event in a nice, warm, sunny place, I'll gladly go film there as well. So I'm ready to put it in every weekend, get it done.
Absolutely. You talked about the Disc Golf Network, and I think one of the coolest things this year was being able to turn my TV on, go to Disc Golf Network, see the live tournament coverage, and just so amazing on just when you look back at the last 5 years even of the quality of the live broadcast, the production value that you guys continue to just make it so much more enjoyable to watch. The players are so incredible on what they're doing. It's so fun to see. And the really cool thing is my wife actually enjoys watching it in small increments, in small doses. And
it's a start.
And that used to not be the And exactly, that is a start. That used to not be the case, and that's a huge compliment that somebody that doesn't play disc golf very often anyway, somebody that doesn't follow disc golf quite like we do is actually entertained in watching the disc golf events and asking who's winning, how's this player doing, how's this player doing, and then watching it. And so you guys are amazing. Thanks for all you do. I've been on here long enough. I think it's time to get to Paul Ulibarri's 100th celebration. Is that right?
Yeah. We just got to fact check the how many of those were pro versus am wins, but I guess a win's a win. But no, it's we are excited. He's been very graciously patient with us as we've been getting all the details from you, and it's so great to catch up as always. You're welcome anytime to give us the updates. In fact, we should probably even be checking in with you and other manufacturers even more often, you know, in this off season. So feel free to stop back whenever you want.
I'm here. You guys just reach out anytime.
All right.
All right, pal. All right.
Thanks,
have a
guys.
good night, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
You guys are awesome.
Thanks,
you guys are
Jeremy.
awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, we didn't give him a chance to thank his sponsor.
Oh, yeah. I think he would say he'd like to thank patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. I'll get that in there for him. But in all seriousness, of course, thanks to Jeremy for giving us some insight. It's funny when we don't catch up, and then someone like him has so many things going on so many different levels. And I truly feel like we could talk for another 6 hours with him about so many other topics that are swirling around within this crazy year of disc golf. And then you see some of his closest friends and employees out on our board, Eric McCabe out there, Bobby Brown, Danny Lindell. Good to see so many, see our DD family out there.
And speaking of the DD family, we do have a video from Ace Run Productions with someone who I think is currently still on the DD family, although I know he always gets threatened to get kicked off, Mr. Zach Melton. We have a one disc, one tip, thanks to Ace Run Productions. We're going to run this. It's about 3.5 minutes, so sit tight, listen to Zach Melton, and Terry and I will be back in just a few moments.
Hey everybody, it's Felix with Ace Run Productions. We are back with another one disc, one tip segment. Today we've got Dynamic Discs sponsored pro, Mr. Zach Melton. Zach, thank you for taking the time out to film this segment with us.
No problem, no problem.
So Zach, you've been at this for a while. How long have you been playing the actual sport of disc golf?
I've been playing disc golf since 2008. Yeah, so 12 years now, which doesn't feel that long, but sounds like a long time.
Remember how you got started? Who introduced you to the game?
Yeah, I remember I was actually in middle school. I remember one of my older brothers talking about disc golf, and I was like, wow, that sounds super dumb. You know, walking around the woods throwing a frisbee, because I thought of a frisbee. And I remember him talking about it, and then I had a friend who was a year older than me. After I had graduated high school, he took me out to play that summer and played one time, and I was hooked. And we just started playing 2-3 times a day, and it's just evolved from there.
Awesome. Well, you've been at this for a while now. You're a sponsored pro, you're a touring pro. Thinking about what's in your bag now, if you could pick out one disc that you think would be friendly from beginner all the way to touring pro, what disc would that be?
So for me, I think, my answer would be the EMAC Truth, but this isn't just a normal EMAC Truth. This has been in my bag for 4 years, and I think people change their bags way too much and too often. This particular mid-range has been in there for 4 years, so it's nice and beat up, and it's not flippy, but it's not overstable. I can kind of manipulate it to do different things. Yeah. It's very straight, and yet I can get it to turn. I can also get it to hyzer. So I think people need to have mid-ranges that they've worked with for a little bit that aren't necessarily, they have to throw hard to go straight, that you can kind of throw almost with a little bit of finesse to get straight shots, turnover shots, hyzer shots.
Wow. All right. Well, that makes a lot of sense, obviously. It's working for you.
Works sometimes.
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, besides the cycling or not cycling of mid-range tips, anything that you're doing out there, one tip that you can offer the audience that maybe has helped you get to where you are, whether it be on the mental side, the physical side of the game, anything you could think of?
I think on the mental side, it's something that we hear a lot. People are very hard on themselves during rounds, and they get overwhelmed because one shot goes wrong, and it's easy to get caught up in that. So just trying to stay you hear a lot, but taking it one shot at a time and not taking it too serious, just try to have fun with it.
Very, very hard to do, but very sound advice for sure.
Easy to say, hard to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, again, I want to take the time out to thank Zach Melton for joining us for this segment. Thank you, Smashbox, as always, for airing these segments and continuing to promote these segments for us. Zach, if these guys want to follow along with you on your social media journey, where can they go along to follow?
Facebook, Zach Melton 38631. Instagram is zmelton38631, and then I think it's just my name on Twitter. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. Thanks again for checking it out. And as always, from Ace Run Productions, let's get excited for some disc golf.
And welcome back, everyone. Thank you again to Ace Run Productions for the one disc, one tip. And Johnny, I got to admit, I couldn't hear any of it with the way our setup is. Normally, I'm sitting and intently watching, so I can play off of that. I couldn't hear any of it just with the way our studios are set up right now. So I'm going to have to go back and consume the one disc, one tip. But thank you to Ace Run Productions for giving us the segment.
I definitely did not send that audio to you because then I would also have to. Right. I'd have to push it out to a couple other places. Now we have Uli. He's almost ready. I saw him for a second, and then I don't know if he turned off the lights in his outdoor studio that he had, because right now I'm not seeing him currently. I'm just seeing a black screen. So we're gonna wait just a few seconds while we get there. He is. All right. Without any further ado, Mr. 100 himself, Mr. Paul Ulibarri.
What's up, guys?
Hey, long time.
I actually had the camera flipped to the other side, which I couldn't figure it out either. So,
well, I'm glad to know that the technical challenges haven't changed in the time that we've had you here. It's been a while, honestly. We used to have you pretty regularly, and now you're Mr. Big Shot. You got 100 wins. Yeah. You're busy. You're like,
oh, I got my own YouTube channel. Oh, I'm a big deal.
Busy,
see you down the fairway.
I feel like the off season's here, so I think we should get into a regular schedule again for sure. Oh,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that sounds
absolutely
great.
Yeah. All right. See you guys. It's been fun. All right.
No, he's always happy to be on when his Steelers are like what 9-0 or something dumb. 8-0. I don't know.
8-0.
Wow.
Whatever. So he's coming on to gloat.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Of course. Great to have you, buddy. And you've frequently been known as just a workhorse out there, a traveling weekend warrior, a full-time touring, and then every weekend. And you've gone through some, I think, self-reflection as to just how much you're going to play. Of course, then sidelined significantly by some injury over the last year or so. But where you are at, like right now with your golf game, I mean, congrats on the 100th win, but just in general, like, how are you feeling in this crazy year we've had?
No, so you're right. Like, pretty crazy year. A lot of ups and downs, especially since the last couple times I've been on the show with you guys. But no, my game's great. I mean, I don't think I can remember a couple times where I played kind of better in my career, but leading towards the end of this season, I was definitely trending in the right direction. And then even the last month or so, I've been playing really well. Couple little mistakes here and there, but I can definitely see my game kind of coming back around and finding a nice rhythm out there finally again. I think the biggest thing is when you take a lot of time off, your skills come back. Is that I've been playing for however million years, whatever amount of time it's been, but the thing that you kind of lose is that rhythm of playing, like scoring. Like the shots are there, but to get in a nice rhythm of getting 5, 6, 7 birdies in a row, which is what you really need to do to compete out there, that's what you lose. You lose that kind of scoring ability, and I really found that was coming back towards the end of the year. So
yeah, and I feel like it's always been really interesting to see when players are we'll say getting comfortable or hitting their stride. And I think of a Sarah Hokum last year who was like, man, she did really well winning the Hall of Fame Classic. Of course, that's the closing national tour event of the year. And I remember talking to her. She's like, I'm ready to go. My game is feeling better now than ever. Like, bring on more tournaments. And, you can never predict when you're going to hit that stride. But when you're in it and you're in the zone, so to speak, you just want to play golf and play golf everywhere you can, right? Is that how you feel?
I mean, kind of. I mean, in years past, for sure. Like, I'm a type of player. I like to play all the time, but I think this is a little bit different. I feel like I have a different kind of confidence about me when I'm out there. Maybe that's come with like age or something, but I feel like, I've always had the skills, but I've lacked a little bit of like the scoring confidence and things like that. And I find myself kind of believing in myself a little bit more lately, and I don't think that's going to go away. So
What do you feel like? It sounds like a lot of mental stuff is going well for you. The mental game is solidifying, but are you throwing farther than ever before? Are you making more putts? Like, is there anything physical that feels like it's clicking better than ever?
Yeah, like for instance, I mean, just in the circle, I mean, probably for the last like 3 months or something, I've missed probably 5 total in tournament play, which is pretty crazy. Like I missed 1 total at the USDGC. I missed like, it seemed like every tournament I would have multiple rounds where I was just 100% in the circle, and that goes a long ways in like really bringing your whole game together, because then you're not really worried about anything. You know, it kind of frees you up to be able to be a little bit more aggressive, run longer putts, you know, not be as under pressure off the tee than, you know, in times past where you know, you're like, geez, I got to put this really close, you know, because my putting stroke isn't where it is. So that's definitely freed up the game. But no, I think mentally, you know, like I've been doing it a long time, and um I don't know, I just feel a bit freer, like in my mind out there. Not a lot of pressure that I'm putting on myself as much. You know, I don't think I'm going to get any better per se, but I think, you know, I have all the skills, and as long as I can mentally be prepared every weekend, I have a great chance to win any tournament I play.
Well, let's go here first and just say I've seen you in Arizona in your off season. I've seen you in the Northwest in your off season. You were obviously in North Carolina. You've been hanging out a lot down there. What's kind of the plan for where you're going to be here in this off season?
Yeah, it's going to be in Charlotte. You know, one of the things I wanted to work on in this off season was kind of like my lines with my backhand, and so I've been really grinding that out here, and in Charlotte they have a lot of tighter courses and stuff, and I've always loved it here. I mean, I've always loved my experiences at the USDGC, and I've always loved my experiences at you know, Rainy Gold and the Web and all those different courses. You know, Nevin. I've always had a close connection with disc golf out here, and I've spent one off season before this here with Germ. I feel like maybe 3-4 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And I've always thought that this could be somewhere I ended up. So I'm filling it out, and I've been looking at land and apartments and condos and houses and all that stuff to see if this is something that I really want. But I'm taking it kind of slow and checking it out. But so far, so good.
Well, I know of one broken heart that's out there. And a couple of weeks ago, when I shared some moments with James Proctor,
I'm never gonna be in Wisconsin with you guys. I'm sorry. I know that's where you're getting at, but
no, we weren't.
Springs and fall are great. Springs and fall are great.
No, but when I was in Vegas with with the Halloween Classic a few weeks ago, James Proctor was telling me how he was actually moving from California up to your neck of the woods, or where you have been, and he was super excited about that. And unfortunately, it sounds like if he wants to find you, he might have to chase you over to the other side of the country, and I don't think he's going to do that. But James Proctor specifically, had mentioned you. Was looking forward to maybe a little, winter season with you up there, but you're just you're going to break his heart, it sounds like. Okay,
I feel bad for it. Yeah.
So speaking of breaking hearts, this weekend you put in the stomp down. I don't know just how many, a dozen guys you ripped out their hearts and then stomped on them and said, thanks, I'm off to my 100th here. But tell us a little bit about this weekend and what it really means to you.
Yeah, so this weekend I played in a open tournament, and I got my 100th win. And so you had mentioned with Jeremy that how many were amateur and how many are pro. I have one amateur win total to my resume, which is the Amateur World Championship. So
all right. That's a quality am win then.
Why do we even have a 99 guy on here? I don't understand.
So I have 99 professional wins to my name total. Yeah, but no,
and of course, to be fair, you've got another 100 unsanctioned wins probably. I know those aren't on paper, but you probably have another quite a few unsanctioned pro wins as well.
Yeah, for sure. I have some here and there, but it was a big goal of mine for sure. I remember, you know, early on in my career, just not even played 100 tournaments and seeing that some people had 100 wins and just being like how is that even possible? And personally, I remember playing a tournament. I think Mike Randolph made a speech, and it was his 75th win, and he made a nice little speech about it. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that's insane. Like I probably at the time I had like 2 or 3 or 4 or something, you know, and I remember thinking like I'll never be able to do that. And then, you know, to get to this point and to see, you know, that's always, like I said, been a really big goal to like get to 100 wins. And a lot of weekends I could have had off, you know, I didn't have to go play for $150 at these smaller tournaments or whatever. But I'm very happy that it did, and it felt really good. It really did.
Well, you're in the place to be right now if you want to play tournaments. I mean, they're constantly running down in the Southeast. I know that's where Schwebby racks up a lot of his wins, and like it looks like you're right now. I'm looking, and you're registered for 7 upcoming events. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 upcoming events you're already registered for. Most of which are in the Southeast. Yeah.
So I one of the things I like to do is tournaments fill up so fast, and so I'll register for a tournament, and I tell all the tournament directors, like, just put me on the list, and if I can make it, I can make it, and if not, I'll just donate my entry fee to you guys, and you guys do what you will with it. You know what I mean? Just to where, you know, I'll be donating a disc or something anyway to them, and so if I can't make it, easy way to get myself on the list for a lot of tournaments, you know.
Okay, yeah. So as Johnny was just mentioning, Soda.
The Soda City Showdown 3 and 4. Vista. You've got Vista del Camino Winter Shootout, which sounds like maybe or maybe not you'll make, because then you go to the Southbound Presents Dirty Birdie. And then the Chain Hawk Open, which is in, you know, a few weeks.
I don't even know what these tournaments are. I really have no clue.
So they're special. They're all special to you. Okay. All right. So, you know, but no, I can appreciate at least the foresight. And obviously as a tournament director, I'll say it, you know, for the millionth time, I'd rather have someone sign up and then have to withdraw rather than them calling me and be like, hey, you know, like my name's Paul Ulibarri, and you know, is there a special spot where you can squeak me in? Like, I'd rather you be on the list and then have to withdraw and give you your money back or whatever than you know, somebody trying to pull that card later of like, hey, can you get me in? And, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So you're going about it the right way there, for sure. Now, this is probably a big question, but give us a couple of the top moments or the top victories that stand out for you. You know, in 100 victories, surely there's got to be a couple, and that's not to diminish any other ones, but there's got to be a couple of really big moments that really stand out for you.
Yeah, I mean, the one national tour that I won, that was a big moment for sure. I know that obviously where this all started was Am Worlds, and I remember that like it was yesterday. I also remember my first ever pro win, you know, where I had to take down Dan Ginley, who was like my idol and a big time, you know, teacher to me. And I remember that like it was yesterday. There's a couple that stand out, but a lot of them kind of go together. You know, at some point you just get into like a crazy rhythm with playing tournaments, and they all kind of run together. But I feel like there's a few out there that kind of stand out, and those are probably the 3 that mean the most to me.
Yeah, and I think back to 2006, Am Worlds in Oklahoma, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think about all the courses there. That I was there as a PDGA marshal. I was actually at the 05 Flagstaff Worlds. I was at the 06 Am Worlds doing marshaling stuff, and to see, you know, the class of players. Then someone like Paul Macbeth, you know, also played in the 07 Am Worlds here in Milwaukee, and you know, lost in a playoff. Like, to be able to watch those, and then to fast forward to a Wiggins in 2010, Wiggins winning one division while Wysocki's winning the under 19 or under 16 division, that same weekend. Like, it's been so incredible to watch, all of these players grow and blossom into, the superstars that we have today. It's been really fun. And obviously, you're Anthony Barella, who I know you know very well and are good friends with, and Isaac McDonald and all those guys. It's there's something special about seeing those players at the early stages of their career and then turn into the superstars and eventually chase down 100 wins. What another big question, but is it the Worlds? Is that the one that lingers, that you want the absolute most yet?
No, I think just a major in general, whether it's European Open, Worlds, or USDGC, to put that next to my name, I definitely, I made three big goals that I set really early on in my career, and one of them was 100, and then a major, of course, and the Hall of Fame is the last one. So, those are the ones that I work toward, and I can knock one of those off the list, and now I just have those next two that I got to strive for, and I have no doubt that I'll get there.
It's not getting any easier to win a major these days. I mean, talk about the competition level today versus even 5 or 10 years ago.
Well, you're 100% right. The talent level is extremely high, but it's always been tough to win majors, and that's the one thing that hasn't changed. Doesn't matter how many people are there or whatever. It always seems to be the same set of guys, pushing for that last spot. And for my name not to be on the list of contenders at majors to me, that's not a thing. I finished in the top 10 damn near every major I play, because that's what I train for. That's what I want. And I've been really, really close. And so I don't think that is something that I worry about, the talent level getting better or this or that or the other thing. But it is getting better for sure. But I also believe that, the top players from my generation are still grinding and getting better as well. We're not going to just like roll over and be like, hey, just because you're younger, you can beat me this weekend.
They just throw further and it hurts less the next day. That's all.
Exactly. They just don't have to do as many ice baths.
That's right. They'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking to them, I immediately think of, just right off the top of my head, Barella in that conversation, Adam Hammes in that conversation, Kyle Klein in that conversation. Like, right off the bat, you're looking at all of these kids, 19, 20, 21, whatever, and they're just getting things started. I mean, they've had some success. They've obviously performed well, and they've got they still have to get over the hump of getting past all of you guys. But man, some of them make it look easy.
No, you're 100% right, and we can make that list keeps going and going and going. I mean, I'm no spring chicken anymore. Yeah, it's not often that I'm not the oldest guy on the card nowadays, which is kind of crazy to say. And that feels a little funny sometimes, but I still feel pretty young, and I do feel like I'm playing better than I ever have in my career to this point right now. There's been a couple times where I've been pretty good out there. But right now I really feel like I'm trending in the right direction. The things that I'm doing is working really, really well.
And how's the health? How's your knee? How's your leg? How's every part of your body? I don't know how the end of the year treats you particularly.
My whole body hurts. My whole body hurts at this point. No, man, I'm good. I've had to really baby my knee and protect it and things like that. But I'm good about icing. I'm good about my braces. I'm good about, I just got back in the gym yesterday. I've been so busy. I haven't had time to really do anything. Like, I've been on the go playing tournaments and I've had a lot of things kind of going the last couple months, even after the tour season was done. So I'm getting back in the gym. I want to strengthen that leg up a bit more, but no, it's strong and my health is great. I feel very clear out there when I'm playing. Like I mentioned before, like my mental game is really, I think, what's held me back in the past. And now that I really feel like I'm ready to win big tournaments.
Well, just to sidetrack for a moment, because I have openly, man crushed on your brother for a long time, because I think he's just such a gifted, talented, just an incredible human on so many levels. He jumps another 5 points today and is now at 10-12, just 15 points behind what once was his much more dominant brother. How are you letting your older brother creep up on your rating like that?
Oh man, he deserves it. My brother works hard. He plays all the time, and he's a really great player. I keep telling him though, I'm like, man, if I show up to a tournament, man, you better be playing Masters, because you don't want none of this smoke yet, man. I'm telling you.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's clearly doing something right, that his rating continues to climb. And again, you're right. I know. I think about all the things I see him actively doing besides being a father and a husband, and then the 150 other hobbies and things that he also likes to excel at. And then to watch him, his rating continue to go up has been pretty incredible for sure. Is he getting cocky with you? Is he ready to? Is he want to bring that smoke you speak of?
No, he knows his place, man. He knows what's up. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's great. He's great. Like I truly believe that he's, top 3 best Masters players on the West Coast. Like I don't, Steve Rico is somebody that'll definitely, I feel like, be able to take him on and stuff like that. But he just beat, he won an A tier over at the Tree Bash. He took down Patrick Brown, who's really a great player. You know what I mean? And he went up in the woods and was able to do that. So I don't know, man. He's really good. I don't have to worry about him though. I moved to the other side of the country. We're good.
All right, and I genuinely didn't know, but it looks like he's out on the board. He says smoke show. Sounds like he's ready for you. So good to see you out there, Pete. That's awesome. So will you change up anything? You just talked about some of the events you may or may not stay registered for and go play, but is there any specific focus as things somewhat slow down over these next few months? Is there anything that you'll be doing? You just mentioned the gym. Anything else that is going to be part of your routine?
Yeah, so I'm going to be really focusing on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be obviously pumping out the same content that I've been doing, but I have a really great idea that I can't really talk about right now, but it's going to be really, really cool. And I'm going to be doing that in this off season. So look out for some new content that hasn't been on my YouTube channel yet, and it could be a pretty good idea that I'm going to be putting out there. So I'm going to be focusing on that. Obviously practicing, working out, my regular stuff as far as that goes, and just getting ready for next year, because like you said, tour's getting better, man. So I got to stay up on my stuff. And I also have a lot of different avenues that I'm going down. So my time at this point in my life is becoming pretty precious to me. And, that's the one thing about, the 100 wins that is really great, is I don't have to grind to get there anymore. Like that was one of my main goals. And now I don't have to feel like I have to play those tournaments every weekend. And one of the big reasons was I was just like, no, I'm going to get there. Like, I'm not going to slow down until that happens. And now, I can let all the other goals kind of come organically and not feel as much of having to grind,
Please tell me that your new YouTube content is just you following around Germ and punking him. Like, just constantly, just he walks up, all his tires are gone off his car, just time after time, just repeatedly, once a week.
I think we need to talk after this, man. We might have a couple new shows.
Oh, I guarantee you those are 100, 200, 300,000 views right there.
Yeah.
How has this year been different for you? We've seen disc golf get, it's trickling down to everybody. Like manufacturers are seeing more, players are hopefully seeing more. How do you see it as affecting you personally? Like, are you seeing those returns? I'm not necessarily just talking about money, but that's obviously one aspect.
No, absolutely I am. I mean, but the thing about it is I really put myself out there. You guys know that. Like I'm always dipping my toe into all the different avenues because that's a big fear of mine. Like I don't want to, disc golf's my absolute passion, like it is the number one thing in my life. And I don't want to let opportunities, trickle by. One of my biggest fears is not to like clown on like older generations, but I don't think a lot of those guys really like took the opportunity to use their platforms to get as much as they could have, or to push the game in the ways that they could have done. And I believe that that's something that I really want to do. Like I want to be a good commentator. I want to be. We see Simon. I saw Simon get super popular on YouTube, and that's a avenue that I want to go down and do as well. I don't want to be passed up with any of those type things, and that's why I kind of dip my foot into all of that. And by putting myself there at the forefront of all that stuff, I'm able to see the growth and to get those rewards as well. And so if there's any of the younger generation out there listening, like make sure you do that. Make sure you put in the time and the work, always be trying to do something. And one of the people that I'm really proud of is Drew Gibson. I see him out there doing podcasts and YouTube, and he even videos himself playing traditional golf and different things like that. Like somebody like that's not going to get pushed away with the times. He's going to be popular for a very long time doing those things.
Yeah, and I'll echo what you're saying. Clearly your Barry Schultz and your Ken Climos could have had so many more successes and or reap so many more benefits had it been as easy as it is today. And not to say that they maybe didn't miss out on some opportunities.
No, they're missing out on them right now.
Yeah.
They still are. I agree.
Right now.
I totally agree.
Sure.
I guess I'm just saying it's easier now than ever. So yes, you're right. They're missing out on them by not doing them now. That they may feel like some of that has already passed them, and now they're not interested at all in doing it. Conversely, look at Johnny McRae, who is fully embracing it a lot more and has made himself that much more accessible. He's clearly, that's a slightly different path than you see from a Barry or a Kenny, for instance, or a Scott Stokely. I mean, there's a guy that clearly had a knack for it back in the day. He disappeared for a decade and comes back, and he jumps right back into it, without skipping a beat. And so, those there are people that have done it and can do it. And it's easier now than ever, but it's all about taking that first step. And if you weren't like Stokely and doing it, 20 years ago, it's maybe not as natural to try and jump into it now and
sure.
Adapt to the time. So, there's some people that have done it and some that probably never will. But I think as we move forward, almost everybody's going to realize, just like you are, hey, this is here. If I want to do it, I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What have you learned? What's your biggest takeaway? I mean, give the next, the one of the 19-year-olds out there who maybe is already social media savvy. I don't know, but what's been your big takeaway? What have you learned in the last year of doing your series and your vlog? What would you say is a quick tip for that almost can apply to anybody?
Yeah, just be yourself, be natural. The good thing about doing a YouTube channel is you can use as many takes as you want. So the hardest thing for you to do really is to do it. Like that's the toughest part, is to actually do it one time, and then to do it 2 times, and then 3 times, and be, the most important thing with anything is consistency. Doesn't matter if you're doing YouTube, if you're practicing, if you're doing anything. If you're going to do it 100%, and try to be good at it. Try to be the best that you possibly can at it. But I think the most important thing is to actually do it. A lot of people are afraid. I was afraid to do it. I was afraid to put my first thing out there, and then after a few times now, it's just like, it takes me 30 minutes, like boom, 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 and it's done. And I don't even think twice about it, and it just happens just like that. I remember talking to Johnny and being like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I can't figure this out. Like, what is this? What is this? And now it's like, it comes like super. I'm still not great at it, but I'm allowing myself to get better. And I'm not putting something out there with like the highest quality ever, because I know I'm not capable of that. I'm putting out there what
you can. I mean, you're putting out there what you can and what you do, and it seems to be getting a pretty darn good reception from what I've seen. So,
yeah, and what's the cliche out there? Paralysis by analysis. Like, if you sit around and you try and make things perfect, you're just always going to have a good excuse to not get it done. And if you're too critical about it, you said it perfectly. You just have to. It starts with putting something out, and then hopefully growing a little bit from that, and then going to the next one, and so on and so forth. Because if you sit around and look for an excuse for something to not release it, or not, it's not perfect, well, you're never going to get one out there, and those all just become good excuses to delay it and procrastinate. So I think that's a very solid point for sure. How would you describe, if somebody hasn't watched, or they're watching us now for the first time and haven't maybe consumed your channel, how would you kind of what would be your sales pitch to someone if you're saying, go to my channel, here's what you're going to find?
So basically, I just do a tip a week. It's like super simple, a 3-minute tip, whatever it is. And I've been bringing on guests and different things like that. And it goes for all levels, from the beginner level to, you could be super expert, and you could probably learn something on the series that I'm doing. And, it could be something from 1 week. 1 week I had James Conrad on there, and he gave us his #1 best tip for throwing putters good. He's known for that. And so he goes on there, and then he gives his best one tip, and then that's it. That's the episode. So it's a super just organic tutorial type teaching little channel where you can just go on there, consume content that, one of the biggest things that I saw the reason I made that series is clinics on YouTube are so freaking boring. Like, you could listen to an hour-long clinic and maybe get one thing out of the whole thing. And so you're not going to want to listen to that all the time. So if I could put out something that's 3 minutes on average, to where you get one quick little tip a day, like, people are going to consume that content, and be very receptive of that. And the next tip that I could give somebody is listen to the people, listen to what they're saying. Don't listen to the, to the, what do you call to the trolls. Listen to the people who actually care, who give you a little advice on what to do and things like that, because you can learn from it for sure.
I don't know. There's some great news out on the board. Somebody incorrectly trying to impersonate Johnny V telling me Terry is a fat piece of trash.
What?
Yeah, see, someday when you get to that level, Uli, you too will get really intelligent people that come onto your podcast who have nothing better to do than to try and bash you while they're watching a podcast. So,
well, that didn't show up for anybody else other than you,
Terry.
I'm
seeing it. Oh,
I know,
man.
That's because you're an admin on the page. I removed it. Oh, Terry.
Man,
good.
Anyway, again, your YouTube channel is doing well when you start to get people like that. That's a sure sign. I'm sure if you look at anybody's comments, whether it's the best Jomez video that has 1 million views on it, or an absolute tiny video that has 50, the minute you get those first people that are hating on it, you made it. You made it.
What has been in that vein though? What do you feel like? Clearly, you're getting some really good feedback from people. Have you had success stories? Have you had people that are saying, "Hey, I love this tip. Could you elaborate on this in the next one?" Is that the kind of feedback you've been getting?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's rare that I go out and I don't have somebody like at a tournament being like, "Hey, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that. Like, I've really learned a lot from it." And that's why I do it. It's freaking free. It's free content for them to do, and that's why we put it out there. And yeah, it's been great. I think since I started it, which was when COVID hit. How many months ago was that?
Right.
Time
March?
has been flying. March.
8 months ago, something like that.
So about
almost
April,
8 months to the day
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, since April, I think I have like right around 16,000 subscribers. So it's grown pretty decent in that time. You know, a lot faster than I thought it was going to grow. But I mean, through that, like that's the kind of responses that I get. Just like a lot of thank yous and keep doing it type thing.
Well, and I think another lesson here, and you kind of touched on it, is there is an angle for everybody. Whether it's throwing tips or it's mental game or it's crazy fun stuff and just random stuff like, your wheel of random shots or whatever Simon does, from Ace. Like, there's so many different ways you can go about it, whether you want to be, fun and entertaining, or you want to be a little bit more serious and actually informational and instructional. Like, there's just a countless different styles and avenues that you can take it. And I think that's one of the most appealing parts about it is there's no blueprint. There's no structure that you have to follow. You can really do it however you want. And I think that's huge for a lot of people. Now, I'll say this, and maybe you can attest to this. YouTube is popular and it's well known, but some people just never get comfortable in front of a camera. Some people just never get excited about editing anything. And my thought would be, don't force it if you absolutely hate it. Don't force it thinking you're going to turn it into a love. Hopefully maybe it's tough and then you become passionate about it and it gets easier and easier for you. But if it doesn't, there's other avenues. There's a lot of people that are doing, direct instructional form clinics through these different form apps. I know Waisaki's doing that. I saw him post that recently, for example. I just think there's so many different ways to do it. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you're, some other way, or you're more hands-on and in person.
Sure.
Maybe you want to punk Germ every week and just hide his toupee.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, YouTube is kind of the default, and I understand that, and we all know it as we're broadcasting on it right now. But I also, I remember I started my vlog because I was like, well, I don't really write. I'm not a big writer. And blogging, actual written blog, was very popular in 2010. I'm like, well, I don't really write. I'd just rather get in front of a camera for a few minutes and talk. And that's how it started. But do whatever's comfortable for you, whatever that might be. There's a lot of ways to go about it.
Absolutely. No, that's great advice.
Was your mom your first, was she the first phone call after your putt dropped on Sunday? I know she's always your number one fan out there, and we love seeing her post and you and Pete playing every weekend. Did you get a call shortly after that?
I actually called her right away, and I told her, for
Awesome.
sure. She was definitely the first person I called. I mean, she's been there, every step of the way, and my biggest fan and all that stuff. And I was emotional, afterwards, because it was like I said, that was a goal that I'm very, very goal oriented. So to set something like that a long time ago, like that freaking took forever. You know what I mean? Forever. And like I said, when it all came down to it, it was just a lot of time sacrificed. And that's what it came down to. And to be, it's not about the 100 wins. It's about, like I said, I don't really have to get up this morning. Like, I don't have to go play this tournament. But because, I set that goal, like, that's the type of person that I am, that I just forced myself to do it. And so I was very proud of myself for it.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. A huge feat. Now, reflect maybe a little on some of the other fellow 100 winners. That's of course, that company is growing slowly because it's still really tough to do. But is there any other people that you think of that you're joining that very elite class with, that come to mind off the top of your head?
No, for sure. I had actually a lot of them reach out to me and just congratulate me and tell me, welcome to the club type thing, like, congratulations, because they know how hard it is. And like Kayla Visca reached out, and he just hit that a couple years ago, and Steve Brinster hit it recently. Jay Redding hit it recently. And so, no, it's just nice, because I feel like we have that connection of, like, if you get 100 wins, like that's a lot of weekends, man. That's like, you know, a full year straight of playing tournaments, and that's not even to mention the ones that you didn't win, you know. And so no, you know, those names come to mind. Steve Rico, you know, I've always looked up to him on the West Coast over there, and there's just like all kinds, you know. And then you have like this super elite 200 club that's like Barry Schultz and Brian Schweberger and Elaine King and all these, you know. There's only a select few that are at that number, and so I've talked to Brian a bit about it and stuff, and so like, no, very, very cool, and very, very humbled to be in that category for sure.
Fair to say that 200 doesn't seem practical, or does it?
Oh, I'll get to 200 wins, but I won't be grinding to get there. I'll tell you that much. I might take a few weekends off in between now and 200. I didn't take a lot of weekends off. You know what I mean? Like, that's what people don't understand. Like, for years, I played 40 plus tournaments. Like, that's not a lot of weekends off, man.
2034 Grandmaster Champion, your 200 win.
Maybe.
Some people might be. How old are you?
I'm 32.
32. Okay. How many wins does Nico have? Because isn't he within a few months maybe of yourself?
I think Nico's at 114.
120 or
121.
something?
He's at 121.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because I feel like he's within a few months of you age-wise, isn't he? Does that sound right?
Yeah. No. We're within days. We're both September kids.
Okay. So, yeah, and you know, he got to start a little bit earlier in the sport than you did, but and then, you know, obviously had the connection. But I know you guys have traveled, experienced a lot of places, and I think of him as another one of those guys that's been out there grinding and fighting hard for every single one of those victories, as does everyone that has that many, of course. But he's another one that comes to mind, and just thinking of your ages being somewhat similar there.
Sure.
All right, Uli, is there anything else we need to touch on here tonight? Like we said, we're excited to have you as a little bit more regular, or a little more frequent and often here, if your time allows it over these next few months. But anything else we should touch on here tonight?
No, nothing's coming really to mind. I mean, there's so much stuff going on out there, but I feel like we're all pretty busy. So.
Okay, I will ask. I do have one more for you. Obviously, off-season chatter is happening, team switching, you know, agreements and contracts, and you having a role, you know, over there at Discraft that you've had over this last year. Anything in the works? Are we going to see more Tour Series discs? Are you going to be part owner? Like, what's going on?
No, you know what? We're always, you know, over there at Discraft, we're always just trying to get better, and our team is constantly moving in different directions, and I think we could be pleasantly surprised with where we end up in this off season, and it could look different, or it might look a little bit of the same.
Wow, that's a great cliffhanger.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that's some insight for us. All right, okay, give us at least one secret then. I'll just be
one
blunt.
secret. Let me think. What could I let you know about? I don't think I can give secrets, man. You know what? They trust me with those secrets. I gotta be a good team captain.
Is your disc going to be the Raptor next year?
Yes, my disc is always going to be the Raptor.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys would switch it up a little bit or change, you know, with Tour Series discs maybe, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you guys signing any other players?
That's a good question. I'll have to get back to you on that. Yeah, it's a really good question.
Okay. Are you kicking anybody off the team?
For sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Boom.
Wow,
okay.
Getting the Uli boot.
Who is the biggest? Is Ezra the biggest name right now that's not signed to a team?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, how could he not be? Yeah.
I mean, he really came on at the end of the year. I know his name's been out there for a while, but at the very end of the year, he really started to shine. So I didn't know if that was something I didn't know, or if his was just kind of the biggest name that's out there right now that'll probably make some sort of splash in the off season.
Yeah, I guarantee he's going to be signed by somebody by next year.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, that's then he did something wrong. I don't know what he did.
Is he the strongest guy on tour? Like, just
I don't know. I've never really arm wrestled him, so.
Well, you should try. You should.
Yeah, you should try.
You should be the. We'll live stream it.
Of
I
course
guarantee
he
you.
is. The guy looks like he was chiseled out of freaking granite or whatever, man. He's huge.
He is. He's a beast. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, when you're ready to give us, speaking of Ezra, spill the beans or give us some secrets, then we can welcome you back to the show. How about that?
Deal. You know what? The next time I come on the show, I guarantee there'll be some things. Hopefully, I'll be able to tell you about what's going to happen on my YouTube channel, and some other secrets for sure. But I really appreciate you guys having me on. And I'm a little bit tired, sorry, but
that's all right.
Yeah, you guys are awesome, and I miss being on here, and it's good to see your guys' faces for sure. And thank you to everybody out on the chat who congratulated me. I really, really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon for sure.
Yeah, being on the after show is going to be a little different on the East Coast versus the West Coast, my friend. So
that's yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, pal.
All right, have a good night. We appreciate it.
See you guys.
See ya. All right, so the other Yuli brother. So I think we need to get we'll get Pete on here soon enough to catch up with that guy for sure. As well, but obviously always a great time to have Paul joining us, and like he said, if he wants to jump in on our after show more frequently throughout the off season, we would love to have him, but like you said, it's gonna be a little bit later coming in from the East Coast. But
and I want to be clear, I know there's a few people on the board. I know Ezra does have some sponsorships. I believe OTB is he sponsored by, but he does not have a major disc sponsor, which is really what we kind of usually talk about. So
yeah, and I know there's some speculation and conversation, and that's exactly what this time of the year is for. Some of that is running rampant.
Hot stove, as they call it.
Oh yeah, hot stove. That's running around right now. But like you said, I think he's going to be one of the biggest conversation pieces, unless we see someone shifting from one brand to another. But just in terms of, we'll say, just overall non-signed players out there, he's clearly one that we expect to get locked down. And maybe we'll see or hear of it. It's already November 10th. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see or hear of it pretty soon. One way. The thing is, I feel like a lot of our players, it seems as if their contract technically runs through the end of the year. And so there's always this kind of weird stage of when can they announce that they're leaving someone and then, they're officially signing on with someone else. If it's in Ezra's case, if he doesn't have another, major manufacturer already, he may not be beholden to holding off on any kind of that news. So.
Well, Ezra, if you're listening and you want to make a big splash, you know where to do it, right here on SmashBoxx.
Yes, I mean, who cares about his play until he gets here and gets put through our ringer? I mean, yeah, or not. Okay, and I'm seeing out on the board, Eric McCabe is chiming in. He may know something we don't. Anything is possible out there, so it'd be great to see what comes of it. Before we close out the regular show, there was a message, and I apologize that I personally don't have as much insight to this, but Sam Martin had put a message up a little bit earlier saying, before the sign-off of the normal show, can we get a shout-out to the unfortunate passing of Dan Hahn Berger's passing? He did the Disc Golf podcast, Breaking Chains. So I did not know Dan personally, but I have seen a number of notes and messages, posted to social media over in the last few days. Somebody else had brought it to my attention. Again, it sounds like it was unfortunate for me and me and Johnny here to not personally know Dan, but obviously thoughts and prayers to anyone that knew him and the passing that's happened. So sorry to hear that for sure. Also, I know some people have made comments about Victor Melafronte, who has a GoFundMe going on, PDJ002. It seems like a lot of people know number 1 in Steady Ed, and a lot of people know Stork, number 3, Victor, number 2. And he's got a GoFundMe. I know he's trying to sell some discs, and sounds like it's a back surgery or a major surgery of sorts. And I've seen that go around Facebook quite a bit as well. And then in a little bit uplifting news, just yesterday, I think it was that we saw, I know we talked about it last week, some fundraising efforts were done for the Schusterich. So thank you to everyone that contributed, of course. I know they're very gracious or appreciative of that. But they welcomed their son to the world yesterday. Today is Tuesday, so I believe it was yesterday. Or was it today already?
I didn't even hear that.
I apologize. Well, I know it was very recent, and maybe it was even this morning. I apologize. He may have said there was a whirlwind of emotions and everything else going on, but so I'm sure someone on the board, and I apologize. Sometimes I consume social media, but that doesn't mean I retain every single detail of it. But I believe it was very recently. Somebody can say it. Yeah, okay. Dan Harbeck says it was in fact today. And Dan, one of our favorite Smashies, he had a birthday just yesterday. I tell you. So yeah. And then also I mentioned Steven Story, Mike Jewell, Eric Peterson, Double G. He had his birthday yesterday. All those other guys had their birthday today. Very cool. Now, one thing, Johnny, we didn't talk about that I want to quickly touch on, and I think it was also on the front of the PDGA news, if we can pull it up quickly, was the fact that there was an ace over the weekend. Did you see any of that and some of that madness? And it wasn't just one ace, or this was kind of a big deal. Did you see that?
I heard something about it, but I honestly couldn't say.
Yeah, so it was one of the 5K, 10K ace opportunities that took place this last weekend, and now I have the name up in front of me. It was, in fact, Garrett Barlow. On hitting the ace at the Dynamic Disc 5K, 10K Grow Disc Golf Ace Challenge event, he knocked down hole 16B at Sawmills Veterans Park course with his Night Shrike 3, netting him a cool $5,000. The hole was 296 feet. So congratulations. Now, maybe Eric or somebody, maybe Bobby Brown or Danny on the board, I believe, if I heard the details earlier this year or realized them, the 5K, 10K is something that a tournament signs up for. It's kind of like buying into, we'll say, this massive ace pool, so to speak. And if you ace with a DD disc, I don't know if it's just DD or if it's all of the Trilogy products. I think it's just DD. Yeah. If you ace with a DD disc, that's when you get the $10,000.
No, 5,000.
No, it's 10,000. And if you ace with any other company, it's the 5,000.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, because EMAC had put out there that EMAC Truth would have netted him 10,000. So I thought he was going to say that he had to do 10,000. The EMAC
no,
Truth.
It's 5,000 with any brand that is not. Oh, and Eric is clarifying, saying it's any Trilogy disc. So if you ace with a non-Trilogy disc, being Westside, Latitude, or DD, then you get yourself $5,000, and if you ace with a Trilogy disc, it is a $10,000 payout. So he, of course, aced with a Discmania Night Shrike 3, which I'm sure hopefully puts a big grin on Nate Perkins' face, as that's his signature disc. So that's very cool. And really, I don't know that anyone's complaining too much when they are taking down that size of an ace pool. But and yes, as clarified also on the board, it has to be filmed, which it was. And I've seen events where they have it set up. They have a specific camera or camera person set up just for this situation. So very cool. And I believe that was, in fact, the first one ever. And again, Eric can maybe clarify for that.
I believe I did hear that as well.
Yeah. So very, very cool. Congratulations to Garrett, 296 footer. And I know there's some stipulations about the distances that it can be. That, you can't set up a 150-foot hole. I don't know if it's between like 250 and 350 or 275 and 400 or something like that. Whatever the stipulations are, but clearly he is good for it. And a little $5,000 payout. Not too shabby. Johnny, what's your biggest ace pool hit?
I have no idea. I've gotten a few of them, but I don't know. I think 150, $200, something like that, probably.
Probably 200,000.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. No, honestly, I have no idea. It's funny because I never kept track of anything like that. I have no clue how many aces I have. I've probably got 15 to 20 of them. I just don't know. I'm in that realm somewhere of aces, and just a handful of tournament aces. Like, obviously most of them are practice round, but I think I've got 4 or 5 actual tournament aces under my belt. So, yeah.
Okay.
It never really interested me that much to keep track of that stuff.
No, I mean, when you ball so hard, like 24/7, like what? Ace pools, aces. Who needs those records, right?
That's right.
And then I think we'll close out the regular show. I want to give a quick shout out between some timing and special case scenario. It all worked out to be part of the event that I got to go play, the Honey Bear Hollow course, which is in Peru, Indiana, and the oldest course in Indiana, one I've heard about forever, including the spider web baskets that are down there. Ed Hedrick has been at that property. Just a lot of history at that campground in Indiana. It was a lot of fun. I was expecting Pat Vitale to take down the tournament and win it with on his birthday, as I know he did a few years ago, won a tournament on his birthday. But instead it was Matt who took it down. But great people, super fun time being there. And it was just a all around really good time. And thanks to everyone in Indiana for a second weekend of checking out the action there. So a lot of fun, and shout out to all those guys. All right, I think we can close things out for the regular show. We got some after show stuff, other tournaments that happen. Paul Macbeth somehow snuck out a win this weekend. That sounds like it's a story in its own right. We can talk about that and some other things in the after show. But Johnny, unless you have anything else for me, I think we can close out the regular show here.
I think we can wrap it up, Ter.
All right. Well, I'm going to thank Jeremy Rusco, who's always working on something over there at Dynamic Disc. I want to thank Paul Ulibarri. Again, congratulations to him for his 100th victory. Congrats to anyone out there that had their ratings jump up today. Anyone that's lowered, I'm sure you don't care about them anyway. If your rating went down, I'm sure you're one of those people that didn't care in the first place, and that's a good way to look at it. I love it. So thank you guys for joining us. Of course, stick around. We'll have our after show. We'll talk about a few more things that happened in the disc golf media sphere in the last week, and maybe we'll stay on track with disc golf conversation or otherwise, or maybe not. But most importantly, we'll have a giveaway. So for show 323, podcast 323, for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, stick around. We'll be back with you guys in just a few minutes for our after show. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Smashbox TV's podcast 323 After Show. Did we stick that landing, Johnny? Not being in the same room?
I had to wait for you, but yeah, I think we stuck it. We'll do it. We got it.
I should have pretended like that would have been good. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. Of course, here we are. This is the Smashbox TV After Show on Tuesday night, November 10th. Wow, a regular show just went 2 hours. Here in the After Show, we talk about things that are disc golf related, or most likely things that aren't disc golf related. That can mean anything from pop culture references to other sports that are taking place, or things that are in the news, or any other random subjects that come about. So that's what you're signed up and listening or tuned in for right now. We also really do love to follow input, thoughts, questions, ideas that come in off of our chat board. So if you're actively participating on the chat board, there's a really good chance that we'll not only see it, but also then be able to answer or address anything that you give to us via the chat board. I mean, really, you guys are running the show at this point. That's what I think I'm trying to say.
Yeah, if you have any questions for us, just feel free to put them on the chat board. I saw that, even though you probably didn't see it, Terry, Steve Rico chimed in from Facebook and said, "Hi, Terror Bear." So,
oh, that guy. He loves. He's the Facebooker and likes to go that route. I saw him make a post earlier today about not only did his rating go up, which is again really funny because
1033, I think he is now. Jeez.
I love seeing so many of our players just really, really talk about how they don't care about ratings, but when theirs goes up, then it seems to matter. And I'm not picking on Steve specifically. But it is kind of this funny phenomenon every single Tuesday that ratings come out that they get talked about if yours is going up. I'm going to read a few things off the board. I apologize if it looks like I'm looking off screen and in a different direction while I do so, because I am coming in from home. Thought Terry was going to say we also really love super chats. Wow. That's very kind of you to suggest that, Ryan. We do love super chats. I believe those are available if anybody wants to get in on them. So yeah, let's quickly talk about a Macbeth win this weekend. Have you heard any of the rumors or the stories of how that supposedly came about this weekend, Johnny?
Nope.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll share. I'll admit I did reach out to him just before we started the show because I wanted to see if any of these rumors were true about his alleged performance. So here's the story I was told, and please correct us on the board if you actually know what you're talking about. He apparently went to the semi-local tournament. I don't know if it's 2 minutes or 30 minutes from his house, but he went to the tournament that's local to him, where Hannah was anticipating playing this weekend. He gets to the tournament to then realize that somebody last moment from the MPO field or somewhere in the pro field had withdrawn. He didn't even have his bag and apparently rounded up a couple of discs. Now, I don't know if I heard they came from his car. I've also heard they were sourced by other players. So again, there's a little confusion, but rounded up literally a couple of discs and then played both rounds and had, I think, a one-stroke lead over Barry Schultz maybe going into at the end of the day. Played 2 rounds of golf, which rarely do our players of his caliber are even, we'll say, forced to play these days, just because it's usually a tee time of one round. Not that someone like Paul can't handle it, clearly. But played 2 rounds. I believe he had a one-stroke lead going into Sunday, and I saw that myself on Saturday night, actually. I didn't know this story at the time. I just saw he was playing. I think he had a one-stroke lead going into Sunday and then went on and won by 8 or 10 or something, presumably with his bag for the final round. So that's the story I was told. Some people are on the board. Hopefully we can get a little clarification. Day 1, he played with 3 discs. Day 2, he had a full bag.
Well, it does. I think you're mistaking Barry Schultz with Brian Schweberger.
Oh, I apologize. Am I?
Yes,
okay, sorry.
Because I didn't see Barry on the list here, but it is the 23rd annual Colonial Fall Colors. Paul, I mean, he shot a 10:21 first round and a 10:35 second round, and then a 10:33, besting, the field on the final day by 1 stroke on the final day. Now he ended up winning by 7 strokes over Stephen Miller and Brian Schweberger. So,
yeah. So after the first day, he was at 105 total, where Schwebe was also at 105. So he was tied. Yep. He was tied after day 1, or should I say the 2 rounds, and then went into the 3rd and final round. And that's where Schwebe fell off the pace slightly. Obviously, Stephen Miller had a good round, but was 6 off of the pace going into that run. I'm trying to do quick math here. I apologize. I did keep saying Barry Schultz there. I meant Brian, a different guy, different BS.
His bag, we're hearing that his bag was mostly testing because he's trying different things in the off season. So, well, I mean, that's what one does. Probably a bunch of prototypes that now are worth a lot more than what they were before, and they apparently work. So, whatever it was, keep it up.
Johnny, a question comes in. I'll let you answer this one. What is your count of followers on Twitch? Is it still under 10? I'm going to guess yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I
so
guess
not. No. We haven't quite gotten that Twitch.
No, our Twitch followers are much higher than that, but the actual subscribers are obviously very low. I'll look right now. What are?
Okay, you do that. I'll continue to read off the board. I was someone saying I was told he threw left-handed on one leg blindfolded. I think I heard he did that on the even holes only. It was Michael Jordan, not Schwebe. Yeah, that was my information maybe as good as saying that. Sam says, I enjoy Ultra World's podcast and pay into it, but they need to quit being so hard on the NT. NTs and DGPT events service 2 different purposes. DGPTs are about the pros. NTs are about showing off disc golf.
I don't think I necessarily agree with that, Sam.
Yeah, I don't either. I feel like you're right when you say I think they're both about showing off disc golf, but the national tour was created and only offered MPO and FPO to showcase our best players and to have an opportunity to showcase and highlight and provide an opportunity for our sport's most elite players. I feel like the Pro Tour, in a nutshell, also is meant to do just that. Hence, they only offer those 2 divisions as well. There's not a Pro Masters, there's not a Pro Grandmasters, there's not FP40. It's just MPO and FPO. I feel like their visions or their overall goals and outcomes are meant to be the same. They're just gone about it in different ways. Mm-hmm. And clearly media, live commitment to live media was something that Steve Dodge, that was just a deal breaker and a staple from day one, from the very first Pro Tour all the way through every Pro Tour event that's now happened since then. Live media was just an absolute staple. And to be fair, they've had a very different business model too. Right now, the PDGA largely offsets and helps fund and underwrites a good portion of the national tour overall, including the season-ending payout or the bonus structure that's come about. Now that's come in from sponsors, but the national tour ultimately has been responsible for doing that. And the Pro Tour has just had a different business model in terms of how all the events are then conducted.
And we would know because we are the official podcast that the PDGA employees listen to.
Yes, there you go. Now, I think it's fair to say, and we're not unique in saying this because we're never unique about anything. We just regurgitate other people's smarter thoughts. The question has been posed, and whether that's by Steve Dodge himself in an editorial last year or other places, the question's been posed: how long does it make sense for both the national tour and the pro tour to parallel as best as they can and continue forward? They clearly have made the agreement that they're not conflicting and that they're partners in the sense of their scheduling and in terms of the geographic locations. But one can fairly ask, just like you look at this year, and this year's the number one testament, the pro tour, with the control that they have and with the relationships and partnerships that they have with the individual events, and then the control of the media and being able to then also harness and control other aspects of the tournament and of the series, has proven it's a viable business entity that can conduct and perform and even excel in a year of a worldwide pandemic. The national tour being a series of 6 events that is tied together but not quite as closely, it wasn't possible.
Correct.
And hence they canceled all of the events or postponed them to 2021. So is there a stronger argument today than ever before that there's some form of merger, dare I say, or of combination, or whatever? Merger is really the word. I think that conversation is more at the forefront today than it was a year ago or than it was 2 years ago. Will it happen? I'm not privy to that. Or when, if it does happen, again, not privy to that. If I was, I couldn't tell you. But I think the conversation, though, is now there more than ever.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's nobody's surprised that the conversation is happening behind the scenes. Now, is that going to be 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years? I think a lot of it might depend on this upcoming year of the Disc Golf Pro Tour and how things are handled. They've got really one good year under them right now with the current management, and I think that the PDGA will watch what the Pro Tour does this year and probably make a decision towards the end of 2021. It wouldn't shock me if you hear by August or September what the plans are. But as of right now, I can say with 100% honesty that those decisions are not made yet. And yeah, Terry and I do know insider information, and there is not much to be known right now. So it's I think a lot hinges on what happens this year. We'll see. And I think there are still people at the PDGA that are probably hard pressed to give up the NTs. It's a nice platform for them and for the PDGA and this and that. But the question is whether or not they should. I don't know. That's not our decision to make.
Yeah, and there's so many other components that go into it, and maybe even something Ray is trying to touch on, media, and how the media is. I think back to some of these events, whether it was a national tour event or an A tier, and I think back to 10 years ago or 5 years, or maybe not 5, more so 10 years ago, and maybe I was there with a $100 camera, maybe there were 0 cameras, whatever the case might be, where media has, of course, then started and where we are today and what it means for the overall landscape of disc golf. And clearly the Disc Golf Pro Tour, the Disc Golf Network have invested largely in media and make it an absolute staple, just as Steve Dodge, I think, laid that groundwork, a staple and a founding block of the overall tour. And not that the national tour doesn't have media. Clearly it does. It continues to do it, and it's invested and spent a lot of money on media. However, you're looking at all the different events with maybe a different situation at every event. So we'll see how that all plays out when it's all said and done. All right, I'm going to read off the board where Ray had said, I think the DGPT, maybe it was Jomez, did a roller of the year. Best drive, best putt, voting competition in years past. Anyone remember? Yeah, they have done that.
Was that DG? Yeah, I think DGPT has done stuff like that. I know.
Yeah,
Ultra World has done things like that. You're going to see a lot of that in the next probably 2 months. A lot of those things pop up. and there'll be probably like Disc of the Year coming up, and just keep your eyes open on all social medias. It'll be everywhere. Don't worry.
Yeah. Bryce Burney asked, Terry, have you lost weight? Absolutely the opposite, Bryce. I'll be the first to admit this is...
I actually shrunk him in the box, which makes him look smaller.
I wish. No, I'd be the first to admit I have not lost weight. And this guy's going to have to get really serious about reversing that sooner than later.
There you go, Tara.
I have to look because for our audio listeners, Johnny has skewed the screen. I'm not sure that helps. Ryan says, Ultra World interviewed Justin from the PDGA about this, Justin Minichelli, our board president. Justin said one of the things about the NTs that's good is that it generates revenue for the PDGA. How do NTs generate revenue for the PDGA? You would have to get Justin to show you the books on that, because I personally I don't know. I mean, I don't think how they generate it outright. I don't know. Is there some back end?
Yeah, it has to be back end in that, like, it generates advertisement for the PDGA, which then generates memberships or maybe a little bit of advertising dollars in the magazine or something along those lines. That's my guess.
Yeah, that I can't speak to. Disc Golf Nerd says, I filmed Beaver State once with an iPod, LOL. Not an iPad, an iPod. So, yes, it shows you how our media has continued to grow. Ryan goes on to then talk a little bit more about that article. I feel like I saw that with Justin Minichelli written. That had to be a few weeks ago now, and I'm sure you can go out there and find it. I think it's on Ultra World's, not behind their paywall, so to speak. So I'm sure you could go out there and find it. Ken Putt says, I just bought 2 of the zombied out glow discs that DD put out. Love that they did that for the pros. Yeah, and that's something we could have talked to maybe Jeremy had we kept him on a little longer. There's an entire series of glow discs that they're putting out for a bunch of their sponsored players right now. I saw those hit the marketplaces and availability in the last week or two, and some of them are a little bit freaky for sure. They look good, so glad you could get out and get some. You think Starlink will have any effect on live coverage? I mean, when's the last time you talked to Elon?
It's been a few weeks. I mean, he's been busy. Okay. But no, they did just actually release is maybe not the right word. They have Starlink open in a beta right now. It's like $500 for the equipment, and then I believe it's about $100 a month, and it gets it's satellite internet. It's higher speed satellite internet. I don't think it's necessarily going to help broadcasts right now, in that it still requires a decent sized satellite dish, like a Dish TV type dish. I did see an article where some guy brought it out to the middle of nowhere where he had 0 cell signal, and he was able to get like 135 down and like 30 or 40 up. So wow. It was powered by a battery, because normally you have to power it. So until that technology changes a little bit, where we can shrink that down, where the receiver is a little bit smaller, it's really not going to help live coverage. Because I think the big misconception, and that we've heard and tried to dispel a lot, is that just get a satellite truck out there, and that doesn't really help us, because as we've explained, the cameras need to transmit a signal back to a central location. So unless you're going to cable up an entire course, think of something like a place where live coverage isn't possible, which is like a Beaver State Fling. Imagine having to run cable out to every location at Milo McIver. and you're talking tens of thousands of feet of cable, and probably equal to dollars. So yeah. It's not so much the central location of getting internet to a spot. It's then getting the signal from the camera back to that spot. Because, yeah, something like that would help if we wanted to run kind of like what we did at USDGC almost, where a central location where you have a show, but distributing it to the rest of the course doesn't really do any good in that avenue. And point-to-point is awful with all the trees, which everybody loves. If it were wide open like a golf course, things might be a little different. Then you've got other options, but the Starlink probably not going to make much of a difference in the meantime. It could mean some really cool things for post-production guys, actually. That's where it could possibly benefit somebody, in that, guess what? They're not fighting for an internet connection in the middle of nowhere. So maybe someone like a Terry or a Jomez, they would have a dish like that, and then they're always going to have 130 down and 50 up or something, which would help out quite a bit with some of those guys and do what they need to do. But for now, live production, probably not going to make a dent.
Yeah, and Ray then follows up and says, didn't you invest in a cell signal boost last offseason, Johnny? Was that useful this season?
Funny, we're talking with our live view people right now about what we're going to be doing. We purchased priority traffic through AT&T. Basically, it is us and like first responders and things like that get priority traffic over everybody else. And I think first responders get even maybe a higher tier than us, I hope, but who knows? AT&T sells that, and we got that. To be honest, I don't know if we saw anything better this year because of it, because there was nobody on the courses. So that's really where sometimes our struggle is even if we have remote, decent cell signal, you start putting 100, 300, 500 people on a course, and you're going to see those hits happen at the cell level because the local towers can only handle so much traffic. So I think that while we purchased it for the year at the very beginning of the year, not knowing that COVID was going to attack, I don't think it made any difference, to be honest. Now, it might make a difference next year. We'll see. It's so hard to tell. And there's a part of me that loves that there's no people on the course, from a technology perspective. And I think next year is going to be a different hurdle. And you're going to see people. There's going to be spots next year where we're going to run into problems because of all the people. Yeah. If disc golf is growing like we think it is, it only makes sense that the spectators are going to grow next year. And if the spectators grow next year, it only makes sense that the cell coverage is going to take a bigger hit in spots. And so where this year we probably had some really good cell coverage, next year you might not see it quite as good. So I'm just going to throw that out there right now, and it's be prepared for maybe some possible issues for next year in related to that. I don't know what else.
I love your pre-promising lesser quality. I love it. Keep those expectations low.
Keep the expectations low and exceed them. But we'll see. I mean, would it shock me to see us have 500 spectators at Pro Tour events next year? I hope not.
Of course not.
I think it'd be cool. Yeah. And I think you're going to hear, our cameramen swearing at the number of people, and you're going to hear us in the booth complaining that the cell towers are overloaded now, and we're not getting as good of a signal. I don't know, or maybe our signal will be better because we'll have different equipment. Anything can happen. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Well, of course, we'll see how things are, how things go, and just to put a quick timestamp on all of this. It was just in the last 36 hours, an announcement was made that Pfizer might be has a vaccine that's 90% effective. If I read some of the headlines, I'll be the first to admit I did not dive into it.
90%. I think they said 90% after the second dose. Dose, is that the right word? Injection along those lines, which is good, but as I think I read a little bit into it. We're in November right now. That still probably won't get to the average person until summer. Like they'll start with probably first responders. They'll start with, healthcare workers. Then they'll go to the people who need it the most, and that could be early January to February. And that it'll probably get out to, if this is what happens and it works and everything pans out, we'll probably see it come early summer, maybe late spring.
Unless I put something together yet this
you
winter.
Might. I mean, if you can come up with the cure for COVID, Terry, yet this winter,
Just saying.
Human trial right here. Just inject
yeah.
me with whatever you mix together, and we'll see if it works.
All right. Well, again, nothing more than a timestamp that can go on permanent record of that was just announced. Today is Tuesday. That was I believe I woke up to it on Monday morning, seeing those headlines. Also, as another we'll say random timestamp.
Ryan Belcher said the other 10% got superpowers. So
yeah, perfect. Another random timestamp. It was Sunday, just 2 days ago. The world had lost Alex Trebek, obviously of Jeopardy, as well. So, all right.
Who's gonna? No, Terry, let's slow down. Who's gonna replace? Who's gonna replace Alex Trebek? Are we gonna see Ken Jennings do it? I mean, I think he could be really cool and.
Yeah, he's one of the front runners, right? That some people are speculating.
I would hope so. I mean, not just because he's he did really well on Jeopardy, but just following a little.
He's got a personality for it.
Yes, I think he's got witty. A personality. His social media is pretty good. I think that he obviously he's younger, and I think that I think he could be a good non-celebrity version. I think it would be fun to have like a few weeks, because I think. I actually watched Jeopardy for the first time in a while today. I happened to get done with dinner early, and they have them recorded through the end of December with Trebek, like new episodes. And my guess is I would love to see a few celebrity hosted versions for like hey, this week we're going to have The Rock. In the interim until they spin up a new host. But I think Ken Jennings could be a good one. Anybody else you think, Ter? We've had this discussion before, I believe, too.
Yeah, no, and here's what I'll say. I think I watched or saw a little bit of a piece with Alex, and I thought it was really interesting that I guess he was on record of saying he didn't want to have really any input or even influence or input as to who might replace him. I guess he just didn't feel like either it was his place or that wasn't something that he was concerned about. But he did specifically say, I think he said game show host and or people in this type of position, we are lacking in terms of people of color and of women. And so, will that will that thought and that mentality get carried into the person that then fulfills the position? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, obviously Ken Jennings is a middle-aged white man. So it doesn't seem like that wish would then be fulfilled in that specific case. Now, I think that's nothing more than you and I and a bunch of people speculating that Ken would be a logical front runner. I don't know if Ken even wants it.
That guy'd take it in a heartbeat. I bet.
I mean, I know. I'm just saying, like, he if they take at all Alex's at least thought or response that I saw, if they take his thought or response into consideration, Ken doesn't check those boxes. But yeah, that's a great question as to. You're exactly right in that I don't feel like it needs to be anyone that carries any real celebrity clout at all. Just like Alex, if they're good, they'll gain their own. And I mean, those are big shoes to fill too. Like,
it's hard. It's hard in this day and age, though, to think that a no-name person is going to get it. I mean, Alex Trebek wasn't exactly a no-name when he got it, but he had so little. I mean, just like Pat Sajak, who I think was like a local news anchor or weatherman or something, when he got the Wheel of Fortune. But it just goes. I mean, look at every single. Game show these days, they're all hosted by somebody famous. I mean, everything from look who took over Price is Right, that was Drew Carey. Let's Make a Deal was Wayne Brady. And all your ones at night, your weakest link is what's her name from Glee, the teacher from Glee.
I know who you're talking about.
And just it's always, it feels like it's a name, and I think the lowest no name you're going to get is Ken Jennings almost. And
sure.
But it would be interesting just to see just some rando, like someone who has a good personality, knows a lot, and they just step in and they're like, hey, I'm the new host of Jeopardy. But
I mean, for all we know, I mean, I think, Ken obviously had his, the success on it, but what if you just had another, we'll say Jeopardy super fan, somebody that is well-rounded, maybe wasn't on the show ever, but you know, somebody that could very much carry the torch. And then the real question is, how much do they want to veer, if at all? I mean, is it going to be literally the exact same show?
I hope so.
Just with a different person. I'm just saying, you know, how much of that, you know, will be emulated or carry over. I would assume most of it, but.
Speaking of like veering away and game shows, so I said I watched Jeopardy. Like I caught like the last 12 minutes, I'd say about, and then Wheel of Fortune comes on. I'm like, all right, whatever. You know, my wife and I were sitting there chatting. Wheel of Fortune comes on. My kid's in the room. We just let it play for a little while. I wasn't really paying attention until they did a new game style called crossword. I'd never seen that before. Like it was just 4 words that went with the word cow that were arranged like a crossword. And I was like, how? Really? Like I'd never seen that before. It's always been a phrase or a word and all you had to do was, you know, get those. It was that, and you had to rattle off the words. And I was like, wow, they're branching out into different styles of word games in Wheel of Fortune. And maybe they've been doing that for years, and I just don't know, because it's literally probably the first time I've watched Wheel of Fortune in a couple of years. But I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, I think I mean, what's the term? They jumped the shark years ago. I mean, it's unrecognizable. No, no, they have, I think, trying to keep up with the times, trying to change up things a little bit. I don't know if they just felt like they ran out of names or phrases or topics or whatever. But I know they have changed things up. And as somebody's, you know, suggesting like a Neil deGrasse Tyson, I do feel like he clearly could make a good host. I don't want to say I feel like his talents would be wasted there, but I have to feel like someone like him would get bored with the work and the routine that it is when you have someone like that. I just feel like, I don't know. Then again, I mean, I guess I would say the same of Wayne Brady. I think of Wayne Brady as easily one of the most skilled and talented, entertaining men I've seen him in person. I'm just surprised he would be tied down to a game show, even if it is just filming it, for a few hours a week.
Yeah, it's like once a week they film, I think, all the episodes on one day, and then you've got 3 or 4 days to do whatever you want.
I know. I'm just still surprised by that. I really am, with someone that's as I don't know. But anyway. Christopher Len says, my vote is for Terry to take over. I would not. There's too many fancy words that I'd have no idea how to pronounce, even though I guess Alex did plenty of very smart and well-versed himself, but I wouldn't have the patience or the temperament, I think, to be able to host that. That's for sure. Someone else said they can do a full season of different hosts every 2 weeks, then they can figure it out from there. Yeah, and there you go. I agree. I think, maybe they'll test people. Maybe they'll do some form of not surveying. What's the word I'm looking for? Where they basically do try out people for a whole year and then get whatever feedback and then find out, because you got to feel like that's almost, if you're going to do, I feel like it's a Supreme Court justice job. Like if you're going to be appointed to that, you're going to take that job. It kind of feels like you should take that forever. Like, until you can't do it anymore, right? Look at Bob Barker, when he left. Look at Pat Sajak. When he leaves, the person or people that are going to step into that, you just kind of got to feel like, hey, you're kind of obligated to do this forever because they did. No?
They
want that consistency with the show.
You would hope, but, that's clearly up to the person. I don't think Drew Carey has any plans on leaving The Price is Right, but if someone does it for 2 or 3 years and uses that as a platform, we have a low to mid-level actor, we'll just say, that steps in and uses that as a jumping off platform. It's hard. As we know with anything, it's hard to be. People don't do that as much anymore. Like, you don't just keep a job like that anymore. And I understand, but no one's going to sign hey, okay, sign for a 25-year contract. Like, sign it. Can you sign a 25-year deal here, please, sir or ma'am?
No, and I agree. I think it, maybe this is a little bit older dated thinking, but I feel like it is relative to the job. And somebody made a great point and said, well, Ryan Seacrest does every show, but Ryan Seacrest is doing shows that maybe have only been around for a couple of years, right? You know, The Price is Right, as old as we sound here, Johnny, The Price is Right is and is an institution. Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, those are like institutions. That's why you think of the host as an institution. American Idol, yes, it's a monster now, but at one point, you know, American Idol only came up in the last 20 years. And so to see different hosts come in and out of that, I think is more with the current day times. But if somebody steps in as to replace Pat and Vanna, they probably should buckle up for the next 30 years at least. That's what I think.
I'd hope so.
We'll see.
Well.
You think we'll get a call? We'll get a gig, you and I? What game show could you and I host besides our stupid one on the internet?
Oh God, yeah, we could host game night. I bet we could do, you know, we could do Family Feud. That would be fun. Like that doesn't seem like it would be too tough. And I love watching me some Family Feud. I mean, I think Family Feud would be a good one.
Do you think you or I could, it's not a game show, but could host, I don't know, ridiculousness, like Rob Dyrdek does, where he just basically sets up clips of internet fails?
Sure. I've never watched a minute of it in my life, but sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's
it sounds like it sounds like Tosh or like...
it does, except for at least I feel like Tosh. I will say I was a big fan, and I am a big fan of his humor. At least I feel like Tosh though had constant joke after joke after joke. Rob Dyrdek, you know, God bless his entrepreneurship. He just basically sets it up, barely gives you a punchline, and then shows you a clip, and then everyone laughs at it. But anyway, yeah, those aren't game shows, so I don't. Far be it from me. I don't want us to get off tangent here. This is some
yeah exactly. So basically, just taking other people's content and
totally
putting it out there. Okay, yeah, that's a really cool thing to do.
So can I? Yeah, I was gonna say, can I segue from that into? Man, I really love it when people put out like original content, and I feel like somehow that is continuing to get lost more and more. Make content. Put out your own content, collaborate with someone to make content, but it just feels like originality, even in our tiny disc golf community, I feel like is getting lost more and more. I'd rather see bad original content than stolen or borrowed good content. But I guess that's just me.
Yeah,
as the guy who's not afraid to put out that content.
And fake PDGA is looking around like,
at least they have original original stuff. Wow, I'm going to argue with Playground of Sound is on the board and says Tosh never made me laugh even once. Sad.
I'll say,
if you say that
just like Rob Dyrdek, is that his name?
Dyrdek.
I probably have watched a total of 25 minutes of Tosh in my whole life. So,
no. Here's what I'll say, and obviously to each their own on all of it. Tosh.0, I feel like was one thing. I feel like that was a platform and a segment of him and his career and his entertainment. I personally, as a big fan of stand-up comedy, I went and saw Tosh in Madison, Wisconsin a couple of 4 or 5 years ago, and I have said it 100 times since then. I wasn't done laughing at his previous joke before you're already trying to laugh at the next one. Like when you want to talk about laugh or jokes per minute or broken down by dollar or whatever, however you want to divide it up, it was easily the hardest laughing, most entertaining stand-up comedy I've ever seen personally. And I get it. He's not for everybody, but I say that all the time. I think in-person stand-up comedy, he's probably by far the best that I've ever seen. So, but if you hate him, that's fine too. I can respect that. All right. Fake PDGA says, if you don't think Tosh is hilarious, you have no soul. Well, some people don't. I'm good with that. Johnny.
Yeah,
Terry. Exactly. I'm totally good with that. I was going to ask anything wild or crazy, since you follow the other sports. Anything wild or crazy going on in any of the other sporting world? I know the Packers, our beloved Packers, played and won way back on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we didn't have
49er butt. But
yep.
No.
Anything else? Any major upsets in the old footballs this weekend?
Not
that
really.
You saw?
I mean, there was the Saints absolutely crushed the Bucks. Yeah, and Tom Brady looked like suddenly looked like he was 43 years old.
Really?
Yeah, he was just on his back so often. Like, it felt like the Saints were constantly killing him. But that's not really an upset. I mean, both teams are very good, and it was the Saints' night. I think if you could play them 20 times, and I bet you Tampa Bay wins probably 8 of them or something. And they're pretty close, I believe, as a team. But no, I don't think so. I mean, everything is just everyone's always holding their breath for COVID and hoping someone in your team doesn't get knocked out. And it's kind of, I think, the quiet season for sports. You know, we're in the middle of the football season. Baseball's done. Fairly certain hockey's done. It's just everyone's kind of, basketball's done. Everyone's waiting. Disc golf is done. What else? At least as far as the tour goes.
Mm-hmm. Also, a few quick things that I did see from around the tour. Greg Barsby taking things down in a playoff over at the 30th Veterans Park Open, powered by Legacy. So I did see that. So congratulations to Greg Barsby. And I'm trying to think if there was any other major. I mean, that was the largest event, so to speak, in terms of sanctioning that took place over the weekend that I think I saw anywhere, actually. And then this upcoming weekend, I think the two events that some people are seeing on their schedule, and I know they're both have had some provisions to them, but the Dynamic Disc Northwest Arkansas presents the Northwest Arkansas Open is taking place this weekend. That's a 3-day A tier that's happening, and your highest rated players being Kevin Jones, Cale LaVisca. I'm not sure what's bringing Cale from Minnesota down there, other than maybe the weather. Nico, Andrew Presnell, Chris Clemens, and Austin Hannum, along with Greg Barsby, who I just mentioned. And then the other one is the Lake County Trailblazer, taking place in Florida. Not quite as stout of an open field, if I recall seeing it, but still some good players in Gavin Rathbun, Cameron Messerschmidt, who won this last weekend, Mark Kistner, and Cole Weirheim. So some names that you guys maybe have seen out there before.
This weekend,
Fake PDGA, big breaking news. Wait, Johnny.
Yeah.
Fake PDGA says they have officially signed Ezra Adderhold. So he does have a sponsor now.
Congratulations to the Fake PDGA. I think that's a great signing for them. I think that's a good pickup. I hope his meme creation is up to your standards, because that's what I'm assuming you signed him for, was his awesome meme creations. The Masters is this weekend, the PGA. So we have that coming up. That's a big.
So did they just I call me stupid
yeah.
for not knowing this. They just postponed it till this weekend, because there's a pretty incredible shot of some player that skipped across the water, went all the way up the green, then kind of came back a little bit and then went in for a hole in one. I don't know if it was an exhibition or practice or what he was doing, but it was insane.
That might be their par 3 challenge that they have beforehand.
Did you see it?
I did see it, yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I was really confused. I'm like, why is this just hitting the internet today? Well, probably because it happened today. So hence my confusion.
Yeah.
Reading off the board here, Daniel says, Cale's probably ready to get out and play. He's been so busy running tourneys and managing his course. Yes, I know he's got that RV, so I think he's maybe that's just it, a little running around. And then SSJ Char says, his last name is actually pronounced Aderhold, but I don't think I've ever heard it said like that other than when Ezra has said it himself. Funny you say that. I appreciate that.
If that's the case, then we should really do that. Yeah, we should really be on
well, I'll
that.
say,
8 or hold. Okay.
I had someone make a similar reference at the USDGC, but there was no confirmation of it. And so I had never heard otherwise other than somebody else saying it, just like you are. So I appreciate that. But if that's the case, yeah, of course, we would love to be saying it correctly. Mm-hmm. That's something that we should definitely look into, because it doesn't sound like he's ever corrected anyone that we know of. Otherwise, you think that would be out there more. But if that's the case, we certainly would love to make sure that we get it taken care of.
Well, when Ezra announces his
on the OTB's podcast. Okay, well, good to know.
Yeah, when Ezra announces his new sponsorship on our podcast and not the OTB podcast, I mean, that only makes sense. You can. That's just easy. I actually listen to the OTB podcast every couple episodes if it strikes me and I have a little bit of time. So it's good stuff.
All right. Ace Run, also, not only did they give us a little bit during the regular show with our one disc, one tip with Zach Melton, but Johnny, I believe they promised us some additional ones that will be in the works. That's going to include Ricky Wysocki and then also Nate Perkins. So we'll be looking forward to those coming out in the next few weeks.
I have the Nate Perkins one already. It's just waiting there.
The collaboration with them. Quick update, the Cold Turkey 15 that I'm hosting in a couple of weeks is officially sold out. Normally, I'm begging you guys to make sure you get signed up for the 72 or 90 spots that are available. Well, I doubled that. We're going split day. We have 144 people sold out with a waiting list, and just thank you to everyone that's all signed up and ready to go for that event. Johnny, the other quick thing I wanted to touch on, it's 2 weeks from tonight will be the release of the Disc Golf Pro Tour ESPN2 coverage. Mm-hmm. And did we see 7? I know we talked about this last week, but 7 p.m. our time?
I believe that's what someone had said,
yes.
7 p.m. So if we're lucky, we can get that coordinated where we can that's going to be the 24th. Yeah. I should be. I'll be traveling to Florida at the end of the month, and I don't know if it's going to be that week or if it will be just after that, after Thanksgiving, maybe for some work stuff. But there'll be a chance that in early December I will be there for quite a few days. So, but I don't think it should interfere. I think we should be able to do a live watch party.
Okay, so look forward to that in a couple of weeks. Again, just 2 weeks from tonight. Holy cow. That's some major stuff going on there. Quick plug on a couple of updates on my end. As Johnny, you can probably start to get our giveaway. A couple of quick plugs there. One, I am pretty close to caught up on the mailing stuff. You guys should be seeing that stuff hopefully by the end of the week. I know a few of you have reached out. I appreciate that. And I'm not offended if you reached out and say, hey, where's my free stuff that you promised us? Also, I released the top 10 moments of the Las Vegas Challenge. If you'd like, please go check that out. And I had a conversation with Eagle McMahon a couple days ago. We recorded some stuff, and we are yet another step closer to 3 rounds of the PCS Open, which I feel like will drop at an absolute perfect time with a little lull in our disc golf coverage season. So, action from Norway with some excellent players, and then commentary by the 2019 champion Eagle McMahon along with myself, the not champion. So look for that hopefully soon, hopefully even before next week.
We'll do one more question here, then we'll give something away. Cody Garner says, the odds of an unsanctioned mega tour starting up soon for disc golf, a competing tour for the NT/DGPT, say like a Nike Pro Tour with huge payouts. I'm going to say the odds of that are very, very small. I had a discussion with somebody recently about live broadcasting in general, just like if another company wanted to start up and do live broadcasting. And I had said, well, that would be, you know, a year or two ago, that would have been really interesting. But now I feel like if another live company started up or wanted to do a company wanted to do live, they would have to basically start their own tour, because the Pro Tour has, us and whatever, we do the live broadcast for them. And I don't think they're looking for any competition to come into the Pro Tour events. So you would have to start your own tour. And I feel like if you did do like a Nike Pro Tour with huge payouts, I think it only makes sense then that you'd have to do a live component to it. And, I don't know about post-production or anything like that, but I don't think there's really, I don't see that really happening anytime soon. I think disc golf would have to get even bigger in order for something like that to happen, where we have multiple large companies trying to get into the sport, where you have, I'm going to throw two names like Chrysler fighting with BMW to be, sponsor to throw sponsorship at a tour. I think that's how you would get a secondary tour started up. But I don't think we're going to see that in disc golf, or at least not soon.
Yeah, and I guess my final thought with all of that is, if somebody we'll use Nike, if somebody did come in, they would have to make sure that they're coming with a crazy amount of money, and maybe not crazy, but they would obviously have to supersede any of the current payouts, which may or may not be tough for them depending on what they're looking to spend, but they'd have to show up with that, because right now, as per a recent release about the disc golf, about the PDGA and the Rookie of the Year and the Player of the Year, right now players are attending those events because that's where the main media focus is. They've got live and they got post-production at a Pro Tour event, for instance. That's where they're getting bonuses for performing well. That's where their sponsors are paying for them to play at those events. Those are the events that their sponsors, in fact, are sponsoring as well. A Discraft at a Green Mountain Championship. So there's almost a certain degree of expectation to be there performing, representing the company in that aspect as well. So those are all reasons for players to go to those events. And then those are the highest 10 or 12 payouts of the year outside of our majors. So if Nike came in, and they're also earning PDGA points and getting ratings and all that other stuff. So if Nike came in and said, okay, we're going to hold an event, they're going to probably need similar or more media coverage right off the bat. And then they're going to have to say, oh yeah, well, we're guaranteeing 10 grand every weekend for the winner, and, a substantial payout that follows that. I mean, they would have to at least probably double all of the existing payouts in order to then pull these players away. And they'd have to be hosting them on courses that are good courses that our good players would even want to go play. Because, yeah, some of our players aren't going to want to go play garbage. Well, then again, maybe for the right money, they'll go play.
Oh, for the right money, they'll play anywhere.
All right. So maybe courses aren't quite as important. If you have a chance to win 25 grand to play one weekend, and they're going to put you on a course where there's no hole over 300 feet, they'll still show up and play. You're right, and I don't blame them. They should. So anyway, they'd have to show up with a lot of money and a lot of media coverage. That's the only way right now they could pull away from the other big tours that we have in place.
All right, that just about sums that up. Let's give something away, Terry. We have 201 people eligible for our giveaway today. If you'd like to be eligible, you can go to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV and be a supporter of SmashBox. We are a live, independent broadcasters. This Patreon is literally the only way we make money on this podcast. Yeah. I mean, and even that is like, do we really make money? We'll see.
That after we pay some bills.
Oh, that's a good call. That's why I don't pay bills. Oh, speaking of, I'll tell you a funny story after we give something away. I don't want to prolong this.
I was just looking for something specific to give away, but go on, keep going.
All right. So if you'd like to be eligible, like I said, sign up at patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV at any level, and you will be automatically entered into our drawing. Terry's looking for something to give away, but while he does that, Terry, do you have a number that we can pick? I don't want to do 100.
All right. Yeah, my daughter Mackenzie is here.
It's midnight for everybody,
so they know. So, of course, that's why my 9-year-old is up. To be fair, they have virtual schooling tomorrow, which She doesn't take serious.
Allie doesn't have any Zooms tomorrow.
No Zooms. Okay, so I need a number between 1 and 4.
3.
She loves the number 3.
The number 3. All right, let's do our third number. Terry, they're sorted by date signed up. So from newest to oldest. So our first number is 107. Our second number is 52. Our third number is 79. Our fourth and winning number is 51. I'm going to go to 51, and that is... Oh, right there. Chris Spear. Chris Spear.
All right, Johnny.
Spear.
Shoot me the information for Chris Spear. We'll find something to give out as I'm sitting here digging through my my office. Maybe I'll give Chris an option or two if I can get in touch with him and make something work. I've got a lot of goodies in here. I just wanted to show it off because I wasn't about to give it away. Sorry, Chris, you're not winning this. But I thought some of our hardcore collectors out there might like that guy. Whatever. This is not a paid advertisement for Discraft, but I know these zones are highly sought after.
That one is signed. Oh,
$200 and you can have it, dear.
Or is that what those are going for?
This color doesn't look like the stamp is quite perfect. Depending on how much somebody fights for it, that's anywhere between $100 and $300. Our collector market's a little crazy, especially with the black ones like that. Dan Harbeck, read what Dan says up there.
Where?
In the big orange box.
Ice cream cone on me. Good night, everyone. Night, Dan.
All right, Kenzie, you can't hear anything, but here, get in the camera here. Make sure you talk right into there. Is anything you'd like to say to everybody out there that's mildly appropriate?
I like food.
Yeah, you do like food. Yeah. I love how you even added cone. You said ice cream cone on me. And there's no cone. Just putting your own words in there.
Oh. No, I like eating an ice cream cone. How about you go make me an ice cream cone?
Yes.
Good idea.
Kenzie, share this with the world. Johnny, you can hear her all right?
No Zooms tomorrow, only for my sister.
So here's what I would ask you. Last night, I had asked if you had brushed your teeth when you had come in, because I didn't know if you did it in the morning or not, and then also if you did it at night or not. What was your solution for brushing your teeth? Share with the world what your solution was.
So if you don't want to brush your teeth, just eat mint ice cream.
Because?
It's mint, and toothpaste is mint. Logic. That's literally science.
That's literally science, she says. Wow.
Yeah, she feels like...
Welcome to Parenting with Terry, where we talk to his daughter at midnight on a school night, and she talks about brushing her teeth.
He doesn't like mint ice cream.
Yes, I don't even like mint ice cream at all, do I? I think it's disgusting.
Thank you, Brian. I know.
Yeah, Brian says you're a genius. And Ryan, who I think you've met, says the math checks out on that. All right. Do you need to go to bed now?
No,
yes.
Thank you.
Tell the world what game you play. I know you can't hear Johnny in your ear, but what are 10 and 12-year-old girls playing these days?
I'm not 10.
You're 9.
But Among Us. Play
it. And just to clarify, what is the premise of Among Us? Like, what's the point of the game?
If you're the crewmate, you do your tasks and try and win and find out who the imposter is and not get killed. The imposter looks like you but doesn't have any tasks. But the imposter can sabotage, vent, and kill you. And then people report your body and try and find out who the imposter is. And once you're outnumbered or there's an even amount of imposters and crewmates in the game, then the game ends. And yeah.
So you guys run around trying to figure out who the imposter is, and then you kill each other.
Yeah, basically.
All right, guys.
It's a very popular game.
I was just going to say this. I know she's special, but you're not unique to that. There are, I think, millions of kids playing this game. Johnny, does your boy play?
He has played a few times. They actually had like a Boy Scout gathering where they played. It was like a fun night where they got together and played, and I could have joined in. I've never played personally, but I was like, I'll just wander away and do my own thing. But no, it is actually one of the games I was thinking about for us doing for one of the game nights. I know it's very popular. So,
well, I think I have one or two contestants that would love to get on that. If we play that for game night, do you want to play, Kens?
Yes. Oh, and Among Us, it's been around for a while, but now that it's on mobile, a lot more people are playing it. And so, like, all of my favorite YouTubers, all they're doing is live streaming and playing it. But their face cams are covering the code, so you can't join into their specific game.
Do you think you could become a famous YouTube Among Us player?
Yes.
Okay.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kenzie Miller. My picture is me standing in front of Target.
Okay. What's your older sister doing right now?
Probably sleeping. Nope, that's a fact. She is sleeping.
All right, folks. You heard it. You need to sign off to the world so that I can get back to work here.
Then I need a piece of paper.
Sign.
Oh, okay. Or how about you say goodbye to everybody watching?
Peace out.
All right. So there you have it.
I'm not going to bed, though.
I know you're not. All right.
That's your daughter, Terry Miller. That is your daughter, 110%.
I have not been. There's no official test of that yet.
She looks a lot like my daughter would look like, but she's definitely your daughter.
Yeah. So anyway, that is that's what goes on here in the world. She's the gamer and the night owl of the family here. That's for sure. All right, Johnny. So we got our winner tonight. Is there anything else we have to close out on here?
No, I don't believe so. I was going to tell a story about how I have to get all new credit cards now because my wife. So she
did she, a magnet, or did she lose them or compromise? What happened?
Last night I was laying on the couch and she goes, "Oh, do you think Mason, my son?" She's like, "Do you think he'd like the Millennium Falcon Lego set?" I was like, well, yeah, it's like a $200 Lego set. But yeah, I think it would be cool. She's like, oh, I get it on sale. It's on sale right now. Like, oh, okay. Sure, yeah, for Christmas. That's a great idea. And a couple seconds later, she's like, she's like, my credit card didn't go through. I'm like, oh, why is that? And I look, and my wife's a pretty smart person normally. She clicked on some link in Facebook for these Lego sets that are like way cheap. Like the Millennium Falcon set is like a $250 set. It was like $35, and I'm thinking it's like, are you?
She got a good deal.
She got a great deal apparently, and so immediately it pops up, right away. This transaction was fraudulent. You want to allow it on this website? And we're like, nope. And immediately I go in and lock all my cards. A couple minutes later, I get an email from Chase saying, "Oh, did you make this purchase?" And I was like, my wife did try to make that purchase, but I said no. I'm like, nope, I don't want this purchase to go through, so no. And they're like, okay, cool, we're locking all your cards and sending you new cards now. And I was like, aw, thanks, sweetheart. Now I have to go through all of our bills and put new credit cards on everything in the next, whenever they show up, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 days. So, yay me.
There you go.
I don't.
She's just getting you a good deal. She was just looking out for you guys.
Trying to get a good deal, and she clicked on like a Facebook. Like I couldn't believe it, and she knew it right away. She was like, "Yeah, the website was like something.cc," and I'm like, "Really? Like, come on." But that's life, and.
See, that's why I just give all my credit cards straight to my kids. They handle
it. And you have $100,000 in credits of Among Us, probably. So,
it's never been discussed, the pay options. I don't know what the pay options are on that game, but surprisingly, they've never even been talked about. So, all right, guys. Well, we can close it out now that we've had our official. Visit there from Kenzie, who normally just loves to chime in on the board. So now on any given night when I'm answering some of her her on the board. It's because she's logged into YouTube. Again, thank you, Dan Harbeck. I hope you did have a great birthday yesterday, and thanks again for the support, Ryan Pilcher, along with all of our other amazing and incredible loyal listeners, followers, chimer-inners, Cody, Emily, all you guys, Ray. We're going to close things out. As this has been SmashBoxx TV's podcast after show 323. Got to thank Uli for joining us in the regular show, along with Jeremy Rusco. Got some great information. Looking forward to 2021, and not only from a media perspective, but hopefully some form of normalcy in all of our touring and our travels and our play and all the friends and beloved disc golf family we see out there on the road just about every single weekend. Again, for Johnny, Terry Miller, we'll see you next week for SmashBoxx Podcast 324. We'll see you then when you step inside the SmashBoxx.